Welcome to a special meeting of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. It's Thursday, August 6, 2009. I've been joined by the Honorable Councilmember Paul Koretz. I don't believe we will have Councilmember Jose Huizar with us this morning. This does constitute a quorum. I just wanted to ask the audience for their courtesy. As you can tell, the acoustics are not the best in this room. I'm going to try to move this along as efficiently as possible. We did open up the drapes. Hopefully it gets a little sunlight in here. Feels like a big cave. But when you come to the microphone, please give us your name and address and try to speak as close as you can to the mic. If you are carrying conversations in the audience, it really is hard to hear the speaker. If you can just speak slowly so we can deal with the echo. If you have cards, please submit them to Steve, our security guards. Steve, want to raise your hand? He's the gentleman that will be collecting the cards. That way our clerk can attend to her functions, her duties. Okay. We have quite a few items today, quite a few cards. Roberto, let's start with the first one.
Yes, council members. Item 1 is a hardship exemption request from the medical marijuana ICO for Natura Flora, and it's located at 3433 Farmville Avenue in CD10, and there's a letter from Councilmember Wesson as well.
Do we have a representative from Councilmember Wesson's office in this room this morning? Come on up, please. Just give us your name. Although I know who you are, but for the record.
Good morning, council members. Andrew Westall with Councilmember Herb Wesson's office. This application was filed 19 months after the ICO. The application is incomplete in that it doesn't have any of the required documents that were to be provided under the ICO. In the application, it states that it is to be organized as a nonprofit, and that in and of itself does not constitute a hardship exemption. In the letter submitted by Councilmember Wesson requesting denial of this hardship application, it also notes the proximity to schools, liquor stores, and a motel across the street, and so that we respectfully ask that this hardship application be denied.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. Any comments or questions, Councilmember?
Well, I have a more general question because this whole process started before I was on the council. My understanding of the hardship exemption and its intention was to deal with people that might have been in the process of setting up such an operation, and the ICO went in place. They might have spent money, they might have put in effort to do that, and then they were surprised in the middle of the process. And so the hardship exemption, as I understand it, was to allow folks in that circumstance to file this kind of an appeal for consideration. But my understanding of it is that someone that came in a year or more after the ICO was in place wouldn't really be in line with what this hardship exemption is intended to do.
And Madam Attorney, can you please respond? I want to make sure we're consistent with our response.
Terry Kaufman, Macias City Attorney's Office. The hardship exemption process, it is discretionary, and it is a fact-based inquiry. And you can look at facts as to whether or not the applicant detrimentally relied on a law before the ICO went into effect. Was that reasonable? When was the application filed? Was it filed after the ICO went into effect? Did they open while the ICO was in effect as opposed to before? And because the application is not permission to open, it's just an application for a hardship, and then if they obtain the hardship exemption, then they can operate. So you have to look at the facts of each case with that in mind, and are they showing any reasonable detrimental reliance?
So if someone opened up, as in this case, 19 months after the ICO went into place, and applied for a hardship exemption and actually opened up, would that on its face be illegal and a violation of the city's ordinance?
The mere filing of a hardship exemption application does not give anyone the right to open. It's like any other permit. A permit application doesn't give you the right to the use. You have to get the approval first.
And none of the places before us would have gotten such an approval.
If they opened before the ICO went into effect, maybe they have what they need. I mean, you have to look at each one, and I haven't looked at each of the individual applications. That's what the hearing will be about today.
But
The mere filing of the application doesn't give anyone the right to open.
And I think that's one of the magnifying points, is that the hardship exemption is not a knee-jerk reaction or a green light to say now you could open. That was an individual choice by the person who has that facility. And I think that is one of the factors that are in front of us as we go through each case. And each council office has taken the time to research and analyze their case, so I, quite frankly, put a lot of weight on what the council members of the district have to say.
Right. Well,
The other issue is, what prevented the applicant from filing ahead of time and timely filing the application. So that's why it could be different depending on, what the individual says.
I mean, there's a certain amount of irony in me being here, in this hearing to begin with, because I'm one of the people that actually wrote SB 420. I'm very supportive of medical marijuana dispensaries in general, but the question here is whether they're legally open or not, and that's obviously what we have to look at.
Right, that's part of the question. Why didn't they get their application in on a timely basis, and any other facts that can show they reasonably relied to their detriment on something, which I guess you'd have to flesh out with the testimony today.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have heard from the summary of the CLA, we've heard from the council office the recommendation. What I'd like to do is go through the public hearing. You have 1 minute if you come to the microphone, look to the timer, and you have 1 minute for your statement. Given the large number of cards, the high number of cards, we could be here all night, so I want to move on this as efficiently as possible. So,
Councilman, have you heard from the applicant?
well, let's hear from the applicant, and thank you. So let's hear from the applicant on number 1, please. Please give us your name and address.
David Welch, last name W-E-L-C-H. Good morning, council members. Good morning, city attorney. I'm actually the paid representative for the applicant. You stated earlier that the council members have taken the time and effort to review each application. In this situation, I do not believe it's true. I've submitted paperwork to the City Hall and also to the Councilmember Wesson's office that demonstrates this location does not dispense marijuana. What this location does, it's a corporate office and meeting place for Natura Flora, which is a collective of 30 persons throughout the city and county of Los Angeles. Why was the hardship submitted? Under LAMC 12.03, any facility that merely facilitates would be considered a dispensary. In that sense, the definition is overbroad if you do deny...
Can you hold this time for a second? I want to make sure I heard you correctly. When you started your statement, you said that you don't think it's true that the council office did its job?
I did state that the council members have stated, or Councilmember Wesson has stated that there's been marijuana distributed from this residence. That is not true. This is a residence.
Okay, so you're talking about the statement, but the fact that they did the work, you're not questioning that?
No, I'm not questioning that.
Okay, I want to be clear what you said. Okay.
Okay, and my apologies if I was misspoke. But on that ground, the fact that marijuana is not distributed from this location, the fact this location is used as a place where the corporate records, the patient documents, and meetings take place, if you do vote to deny the hardship, you are stating that any facility within the city of Los Angeles, even a facility that only merely facilitates the operation of a collective, will fall under 12.03. I speak on behalf of my client, stating that this not only creates a law that is overbroad and has a chilling effect on a state constitutional right, as we found out in County of Butte versus Superior Court of Butte County, a case that came down beginning of July, but it is also an abuse of discretion on behalf of the council in this hearing to deny that hardship request. What I do ask, and what I pray from this committee, is one, that you accept the hardship, realize that this location is not distributing marijuana, but facilitates, as the definition of 12.03 LAMC does state, and in the alternative, have a variance, so long as this location does not physically distribute medical marijuana, but merely facilitates by having a meeting place and a place where the corporate records are kept, will it be allowed? Thank you.
Okay, so please hold on. Councilmember?
So you're saying that marijuana is and never has been located on this site?
There's one member that lives there. The reason that they meet at this location is because it's an open location where people can meet and talk, and they have their corporate meetings there. It's an organization I established.
So,
Yes.
but it's not a residential area; it's a commercial area.
It's a
right?
loft. It's a mixed use. So he has both. That's why it's used as a meeting area. It's a area where he does his graphic design, and also they meet there. But no marijuana is not distributed there in the typical quintessential sense of a dispensary like we see throughout the city.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Attorney?
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. Let me read into the record the definition of a medical marijuana dispensary that might be helpful. Medical marijuana dispensary for the purposes of this interim control ordinance means any use, facility, location, including but not limited to a retail store, office building, or structure that distributes, transmits, gives, dispenses, facilitates, or otherwise provides marijuana in any manner in accordance with state law.
Okay, thank you.
And
Yes.
the gentleman's comment about a variance, I mean, we've got the hardship exemption, there's no application pending for a variance, so there's nothing that could be done about that at this proceeding.
Councilmember?
One other question. So if you don't distribute it from this location, but you facilitate it, how does the marijuana get distributed?
It's between members. Now, I don't know how they distribute amongst themselves, but a collective itself, under state law, does not need a physical location. They can meet one another at different houses or throughout the county. And I believe that's how they operate. But I do know that no marijuana is distributed in a commercial sense from this location. The problem is that in order to follow SB 420 properly, you must verify, you must make sure this is a qualified patient. In order to do that, you have to have a place where your documents are stored. And in a sense, if that's where the documents are stored, it's facilitating the distribution of marijuana.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we did give the applicant 2 minutes, and the rest will give 1 minute. We have, I believe it's Patrick Moore. It's at 1164 21st Street. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm here to ask for your leniency and your compassion. This is really a matter of compassion. We're obviously having some difficulty defining even what the spaces are used for. And you're talking about it taking 16 months or how much time it took for him to actually file this paperwork. These people are very busy dealing with the difference between sativas and indicas, how to deal with schizophrenics and how to deal with diabetes, how to deal with glaucoma. It's a very complicated industry in its early days. And we really ask and request that you if you side on the side of compassion and care, because these people are trying very hard to set up a system here to treat people who are very sick. And that takes up most of their time. And dealing with this type of bureaucracy, I mean, some people got time to get an attorney, some people have the money to get an attorney. It's not really practical for everybody. So as a collective, we're trying to work together and make this easy for the city and the patients. But our focus is on the patients. There's sick people at the other end of this that really need this medicine. And the more we spend bureaucratic time preventing them from being able to provide this medicine. People talk about there being too many clubs. Obviously, there aren't enough clubs in the city right now.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Thank you very much. Craig Reverend? And Bed's done, I believe.
I'd just like to make a quick comment to Mr. Westall's point. He was pointing out that this facility that you're considering right now is close to a liquor store and across the street from a hotel. I've never heard of a CVS pharmacy or any other type of place that would dispense medicine to sick people being regulated if it was too close to a hotel, and I don't believe it's the job of the city council to protect the liquor industry from a potential competitor, which is not even a recreational use. This is for medicinal use only. So I would ask you guys to consider the space and not make a judgment just on that.
Okay. Just for the sake of the record, Mr. Westphal, I need to ask a question based on the gentleman's statement. In your reference to a liquor store, are you saying it to protect the liquor store?
No, in the comments that I made, the request for denial is really based on the lack of documentation that's required under the ICO, as well as the time frame from when the application was actually put in. In the letter that Councilmember Wesson wrote for this particular case, we did make reference to various facilities that are in and around this particular location, but the true nature of asking for denial of the hardship is based on the lack of documentation required under the ICO, as well as when the application was put into the city.
I hate to put you on the spot like this, but the assertion is you're protecting a liquor store. Is that your intention?
No, it's not our intention to protect the liquor store.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Bedstone, Jason, I believe it's Brodsky. I apologize, I'm having a hard time reading the names.
Hi, good morning,
Good morning,
council
sir.
members. Brett Stone, Studio City, California, Los Angeles. I'm here. I think that this whole process is corrupt. I think that certain members of City Council are in the pocket of certain members of the movement that are using you to close the post-ICO collectives. I think the City Council promised us almost 2 years ago you were going to come up with regulations. At this point, as a patient, I ask you to hold off on these hearings, these hardship hearings, develop an ordinance, and then let every club in the city either pass the test of the ordinance that you develop or not. But please, there's very good operators that you're lumping into this post-ICO hardship group, and you're throwing good babies out with bathwater. And you're just saying because you opened up after a certain date, you can't provide. There are operators that were not patients in 2007. They only became aware of the medicine and what it did. The explosion of patients, we went from 6 doctors to over 3 dozen doctors.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stone, I want you to know that 2 things. One, we are trying our best to create an environment so that there can be access for people who need it for medicinal purposes. 2, there's a constant wave of change given all the different court proceedings and rulings that are going on. 3, we have a new city attorney. All these elements are beyond our control as council members, and I assure you, I am not in anyone's pocket. I am not in anyone's favor of any kind of special interest. I'm doing my best to address the situation with what it's in front of us. So thank you, Mr. Stone. I just wanted to respond to your assertion.
And I want to respond to
Thank
your
you. No,
response,
that's it, sir.
Councilmember.
Thank you very much. This is not a debate.
Response.
Thank you very much.
Well, I understand
Next
that,
speaker,
but
Jason Brodsky.
it's you.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'll be back.
Thank you much. Please do. Jason Brodsky.
Good day, Council. Jason Brodsky, cancer survivor, son of engineer and labor delivery nurse. This is an amazing time, and I really appreciate your guys this year of 2009 bringing to the debate of the City Council talking about clubs. Something that would not happen as much 30 years ago is clubs would just be raided and shut down instantaneously. It is a difficult time for a lot of people, and a lot of people are stressed out, and I really do apologize for any accusations made by people that all they want to do is heal themselves and care for the people around them. And I just want to thank you guys very much for what you're doing, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those words. I believe it's Damon Goodman. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, council members. Firstly, this is a black and brown community. I'm the first black person to speak. That should tell you something. All the other people from Studio City. This is a residential community. I know Dorsey High School very well. I know Farmdale very well. 3 sides, one side is a school, 2 sides are residential, commercial is the other side. This is a residential community. I want to begin by saying that this time 2 months ago, a man that I love dear, my girlfriend's grandfather, was on his deathbed with leukemia and was administered medical marijuana. But legalization without regulation will lead to abuse, and that is what we are seeing here. On one corner, you have the school. On the other corner, you have the motel facility, and now you have this medical marijuana facility. We have prostitutes already on Exposition Boulevard. We know what is going on here. You know what is going on here. And to hear some of these operators on talk radio, as they have been, promising people who come to this microphone their own little marijuana pieces, how dare they? Have they no shame? Have they no decency? Please help us in our community deal with these nuisance properties and reject this application.
Thank you very much, sir. Hattie Babb, Clem Simmons, and Reverend Patrick Duff. Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you. Hattie Babb, President of West Adams Neighborhood Council, 2528 West Boulevard. As President of West Adams Neighborhood Council, Farmdale is part of West Adams Neighborhood Council. I live 4 blocks down. The facility that they're asking for this hardship is a place, right now he has a blue tarp up against the gate. He's probably been living there for a while, but I feel as a board member and president that this is not an appropriate location, whether he's dispensing or not dispensing. Dorsey students that live on the north side of Exposition Boulevard will pass him twice a day. I don't feel like it's an appropriate location. I feel like all of these little clinics, or whatever you want to call them, they need to be set up in a medical facility.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Clem Simmons and Reverend Patrick Duff. And those will be our 2 final speakers on this item.
Good morning, Council. My name is Chris Simmons. I'm a member of the West Adams Neighborhood Council. This facility is in a residential area. It's right adjacent to the Dorsey High School as well as the Expo Motel, and there are prostitutes there. And to dispense, as the gentleman say that they will not be dispensing, then why should he need a permit to, if he's not going to be dispensing? And normally you have a medical facility in a building. And as you indicated, one fellow say that you don't have CVS or none of those whenever there's liquor stores around or something of that nature. But if you're going to have a medical marijuana, you've got to have a medical setting for that so people can come in and be treated. But in this case, you just have a building that had been empty for some time, and now they got a tarp around there over it. And this means that, to me, people be coming in off the street, getting their drugs, coming out of the street, going over, soliciting the high school students, taking them over to the motel, having sex, and then the kids be all drunk and high by the day is over with. This is a residential area, consists of black and brown people, and I live close by there. I don't even know why we are here talking about so-called dispensing marijuana. Let's take this nonsense outside.
Thank you, sir. And I want to say this once, please be respectful to the speaker. If you have a difference of opinion, you have the right to make the comment, but please respect each other's comments. We don't need hissing sounds, we don't need booming sounds. That's unnecessary. Thank you.
You have just cleared up what I was speaking about. The people out there criticizing. We live in an area, and we don't want to be inundated with drug addicts.
Thank you much, sir. Next speaker.
Good morning, Reverend Patrick Duff. I hear the neighborhood folks there speaking, but I did not hear one nuisance claim from the place, as I usually don't hear any nuisance claims from any of the medical marijuana dispensaries. I'm here today to speak on each one of these issues because the 14th Amendment has been broken. At 2823 Hyperion Ave, I was raided December 2nd, Liberty Bell Temple, and about a month ago, the landlord started eviction proceedings there. So the evictions went through, let's say, very quickly with the help of local police and different things like that. And I have proof that a city building inspector made the House of Kush Incorporated at 2823 Hyperion Avenue compliant with the city, their hardship exemption, which was filed on the location that I've been in for the last 2 years. Now, how is the House of Kush Incorporated compliant with the city's hardship exemption if they just opened a week ago?
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask the applicant one question. Can the applicant please, or the representative for the applicant, come to the...
Yes, Councilmember.
Did you or the person you're representing or the organization ever take the time to go to the neighborhood council and discuss the benefits of your organization?
No, we did not. The reason why is that we did not, and I sympathize with the neighborhood council and the people from the neighborhood that have come to testify today. We, as I stated before, the facility was not used to dispense. No medicine is dispensed from that location. We were not opening a retail location or commercial location. It's simply a place where the documents are stored and where you can call to get verified.
But the bottom line is they were never given the opportunity to discuss the issues you're raising.
The question also is, the person that lives
that's
there...
the question to you, sir. Is that
Yes.
it's a yes or no?
The neighborhood city or council was not notified by the resident of that location that he was storing files
Okay.
for his members there.
Thank
Yes,
you very
that's
much,
correct.
sir. And I'd like to say that the public hearing comment submitted for the cards is closed. Otherwise, we'll never finish with the items. People keep bringing up their cards. So, Madam Clerk, no more cards. Our last speaker on this one is Tanisha Harris.
Hello, I live in Los Angeles. I'm Miss Black Los Angeles. I'm also Miss California Ethnic World, so I represent the entire state, and I represent medical marijuana patients as a whole. I'm a patient, and I just want to say to everyone standing here, I'm a patient. So if you see me, I'm not, some pothead running down the street. I'm not this crazy black girl that causes problems. I'm a citizen of America. I'm a citizen of Los Angeles, and I'm a normal person, and I need a safe place to get my medicine. And the people that run the dispensaries, they're not these drug dealers. They are delivering medicine. I want people to realize that when you're judging someone who smokes medical marijuana, you're judging the person. And I'm not someone that needs to be judged, and neither are all these people that are standing here, and neither are the people that are providing my medicine. I don't judge you for taking Zoloft or Lexapro, Pro, or whatever those drugs are. I'm just a patient that needs her medicine. That's what I want people to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Okay, that closes public hearing. We've heard from all the principals in this case. We've heard from the council office. Do you have a motion, Councilmember?
Well, I think, again, before I make a motion, I want to read a section from the exemptions to the prohibition of medical marijuana dispensaries being established. One clause of requirements are: file the form designated by the office of the city clerk and the following documentation with the office of the city clerk within 60 days of the adoption of the interim control ordinance. I mean, that alone, I think, is awfully clear, unless a pretty compelling reason could be explained as to why that couldn't be done. On its face of it, that's the end of the issue. There's clearly no compliance, and no effort to explain why there's no compliance, why you couldn't have filed it within 60 days. So I think we really have no other choice but to make the motion to deny an exemption.
And I will second that motion. That will be the action of this committee. Next item, Roberto.
Yes, council members. Next item is an application filed by Craig Rubin, again for the medical marijuana ICO, a hardship exemption for the dispensary located at 2370 Robertson Boulevard in CD10, and there's also a letter from Councilmember Weston.
Mr. Westall, would you like to speak first or last? I should have asked you the last time. Last, okay. So let's hear from the applicant then.
Good morning, council members. My name is Brett Rubin. I'm counsel for Craig X. Rubin, who is the applicant here. I believe he may want to say a couple words on his own behalf. I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. Number one, we filed an amended...
Could you try your best to speak into the microphone?
Sorry. We have filed an amended hardship application with additional documentation with the city clerks and provided to you this morning. I hope that before you come to a final conclusion on this application, you take the time to review the declarations and other documents that are attached to that. I'd like to point out that this hardship application process, Mr. Rubin is exactly the type of person that this process was meant for. He operated a lawful dispensary, Temple 420, for several years that was licensed, and it was unfairly targeted by both state and federal officials. Eventually, his lease there was shut down after the DEA threatened his landlord with seizing the building. There's been an asset forfeiture action and there was a criminal action against Mr. Rubin, which has since been resolved. And at the first possible opportunity to return to this profession of dispensing medical marijuana, he filed this application. I understand that Mr. Westall's point is that the applications need to be complete and there's a full set of documents that need to be submitted. We've attempted to do that here today. But there's a problem with this process. I mean, unlike a lot of the other variance-type processes that the city runs, there's no give and take between the city. There's no communication or coordination in terms of these applications with other organizations within the city. Typically, you will receive some sort of notice of something that's missing from an application so that you have an opportunity to cure any defects. We've attempted to cure defects that we saw when reviewing this application when we were notified of this hearing 2 days ago. Given additional opportunity, we believe we could cure all of the defects in the application. That's all I have to say. I believe Mr. Rubin may have.
Thank you, sir.
Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I do feel I qualify for this hardship because I did have a medical marijuana facility operating prior to the moratorium. The reason I was unable to comply, as Mr. Corrett said, and Phil went out immediately, is because I did not have the money or the permission from the court. The court granted me the right to own and operate a marijuana facility in last May. I was able to raise up enough money and open a facility. Out of the 6 medical marijuana clubs on Robertson Boulevard between Santa Monica Boulevard and Venice Boulevard, I'm the only one with its own parking. We have our own parking spaces. We're easily handicap accessible. And again, I run my medical marijuana club as I did my previous one. We teach people the Bible as well as providing them with medical marijuana. I work as a pastor at the Family Church in Pasadena. I'm a graduate of UCLA, and when they seized my club last time, I have 7 children. My wife and I were homeowners in LA. We lost our house, had our cars repossessed, and I ended up working as a day laborer and had a very difficult time supporting myself. So I believe I truly do qualify for this hardship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mom Roberts and Bill Santley. Good morning, sir.
I'm a resident of Sherman Oaks. Actually, I have to say I'm astounded that you would waste your valuable time with these hearings, you as council members, rather than a commission or other group that you might designate, when you've got a $500 million budget deficit, you've got a horrible unemployment rate here, and you've got people suffering from AIDS and cancer. And you're trying to shut down these medical marijuana dispensaries. I think that if you do that, you're going to put people out of work. You're going to not be able to provide services to people that are ill. There's just an injustice about this process. And I hope that you'll show some compassion and some common sense and look at these hardship requests with some objectivity. And just for the record, I just want you to know, I've never had any interest in using marijuana. I'm not in any way supportive of it, but I do understand people that need that assistance. I have a nephew that's suffering now from an inoperable brain tumor. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Santley? Bill Santley? Brett Stone?
Bill's blind. He just needs a minute to help getting up.
I'm sorry?
Bill is blind. He just needs some help getting up.
Oh, okay. I could not see over there. Thank you. Stanley.
Hello. I've been smoking pot for about 25 years. I've been doing it since I was 18. I have glaucoma, which I've been maintaining with the use of marijuana. I also would like to say that because of the use of marijuana, I've been able to get surgeries that I might not have been able to get because the pressure was just much too high. If anybody knows about what glaucoma is, they know that the eye gets hard as a rock because there's no way for the liquid to get out and escape into the bloodstream. Marijuana takes care of this hardness in the eye and reduces the pressure of the interocular pressure, therefore making the eye more in a healthier state. This has been known for a while. It's been known since the Surgeon General's report in 1984, which is about the time when I started smoking. So that's basically all I have to say, other than to say that the people have spoken. In 1996, Prop 215 was passed, and under SB 420, we have been facilitating. We need to keep facilitating 215. It is the law, at least state law anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley.
And we should uphold our laws.
Thank you,
should
sir.
not turn our backs on the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Brett Stone.
Good morning again, council members.
Good morning, sir.
Brett Stone, Studio City. Pleasure to stand before you. Great opportunity our city gives us to address our leaders. Once again, I'm going to ask you to hold off on these hardship hearings. Mr. Rubin is one of those providers that is doing a great service to the patients. When you put the moratorium in effect in 2007, as a medical marijuana patient, I was paying $65, $70 an ounce for mid-grade medicine. Nowadays, because of the 800 clubs and the competition, I'm paying $45 for that same medicine. And if you close these clubs, the providers that are pre-ICO have banded together. They happen to be the most expensive providers in the city. And it's the clubs that have opened after the ICO that are giving the affordable access and the safe access to the patients in Los Angeles. And once again, before you pass judgment on them, I ask you to come up with an ordinance that you promised us, and then give them an opportunity to pass the same
Thank you very much,
as
sir.
the providers that
Thank
were here
you.
before
Thank you,
September
sir. Our next
2007.
speaker is
Thank
Brett
you for your
Rubin.
time.
Thank you. Brett Rubin.
I believe I have already addressed the...
You already spoke? Okay.
I'm happy to take another minute if you'll give it to me.
We're fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Diane Uzelak, 344 South Lapeer Street. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Diane Uzelak. I'm a patient. I have a heart condition. It's a congenital heart defect. I have to take medicine every day for the rest of my life. Different dosages have to be adjusted, but with that I have to take aspirin. If I have a headache, I have to take Advil. I also have a head injury that's permanent, a concussion along with neurological damage, which causes great pain. They tried to give me pain medication to help subside the pain. It caused great side effects. You couple that with heart medicine, aspirin, Advil for something that I might have injured, and all the side effects. I couldn't be on that much medicine every day. I can take the heart medicine and I can take the aspirin. I want to talk about safety. I'm not the face of marijuana, but I am a citizen, I'm a business person, and a mother, and I want a safe place to find my medicine and purchase it without getting injured or be putting in a compromising position. Ultimately, I'm here for people that can't speak for themselves. There's a lot worse people off than I am. But the bottom line is that I'm a patient. In order to get medication, we have to have some type of legal, regulated place that we can go and feel secure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Teresia Harris, and Jesus Dominguez, and Jason Brodsky.
Is it okay to ask questions to you guys?
No, this is your testimony.
I just think, like what she said, women in general, our mothers, no offense to the men, but we need a safe place to go. I mean, I live in a generation where, I'm not going to say how, but there are ways for us to get it if we need it, and it's just not safe. And as somebody with my stature, I can't just do that. I need to be able to go somewhere that's safe. And when you drive by and you see that there's a facility there and it's in a public area and it's got cameras and there's, security there, you go in, it looks like a pharmacy. It's CVS, only it's green, it's got things to eat, things to drink. My mother's a conservative Christian. She would never smoke pot, and she would like to be able to eat brownies for her lupus. And I work at Minority AIDS Project, volunteering my free time to AIDS victims who need their marijuana to cope with a disease that we can't even cure. I mean, I suffered from a violent crime. Somebody drugged me, and I was not able to cope with that crime until I started smoking marijuana, eating marijuana, being able to gain my weight back. I suffer from post-traumatic stress, and I'm still here. So please think about it.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Jesus Dominguez and Jason Brodsky.
How you doing, council members? Jesus Dominguez, Mission Hills. I'm here to represent Craig X, and I just want to say that when I first moved out here from California, I was in a bad spot. Craig X helped me a lot here into church, and if it wasn't for him, I'd probably be back in Vegas with my brother, who's addicted to heroin. And him and his wife took me in and gave me a safe spot to live. He provides a safe spot for patients to come in. We provide free vegetables for the local homeless people and the local people. I'm proud to say that I volunteer for Craig X on my own time. I don't ask him to pay me. Like I said, he gives me a safe spot to live and a safe place to be, and I know that we have a lot of 70 and 80-year-old patients who feel that the place that Craig X has in play right now is the safest spot that they can come to receive the medicine that they need for their condition. Thank you, council members, and I believe Craig X should receive this exemption.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez. Jason Brodsky, Charlie Rothschild.
Thank you again, Council. I'd like to also speak in regards to this being a great time right now for what we're doing with the whole hemp movement. Everybody is chipping away and finally bringing the marijuana and hemp prohibition to an end. In the 20s, growing hemp was mandated. So we're just moving along, and we understand we mean no regrets to anybody here. Stresses and people being arrested for years has got to stop. And the synagogue that Craig X is stopping, that's Supreme Court matters with church and all other things. So thank you very much for your time up here, and I hope you guys have a chance to get to many of the other millions of things that are troubling our world and economy.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Shelley Rothschild Yakutiel. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I am a member of Knesset Israel Synagogue, which is located, thank you so much, which is located next to the medical marijuana facility at issue. I'm also a breast cancer patient. My breast cancer has metastasized to my lymph nodes. I've been in cancer therapy for 3 years, and I will be for the foreseeable future. But that's not what this hearing is about. It's not about the legality of marijuana. It's not about whether or not there should be medical marijuana facilities. This hearing is about whether a particular location, which is next to my synagogue and has taken action against my synagogue, should receive a hardship exemption that will be a hardship for everyone in my synagogue, and I will explain that. First, I'd like to talk about the location. Second, I'm going to talk about the hardship. First of all, my synagogue is used by children. The medical marijuana facility is right next door. We do not want this to be a drug area. We want a drug-free zone for the children in our synagogue. Our synagogue's been there for 50 years. Mr. Craig has been there for a short period of time. Mr. Rubin painted a cross on our synagogue to advertise the sale of medical marijuana. As a Jew, I am offended by that. This is the the wall of our synagogue.
Thank you, Ms. Rothschild.
I just want to address the
I'll give you more than 1 minute. I know I've gone on other folks too, but that was your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert Chagin. And then Jeffrey Silverman.
May I distribute some visual aids?
Give them to the clerk, please.
My name is Robert Chaikin. I am a commercial real estate broker and a member of Knesset Israel Synagogue of Beverlywood. Please distribute the visual aids to the committee members for their review.
Okay.
This is not really a marijuana issue. This is a simple real estate and legality issue. Craig is trying to steal some valuable signage from our building. It's our exterior wall. He's performed no survey, and even if he did, we have an easement of years. I want you guys to look carefully at the signage and look at its hip-hop character, and I doubt as to whether or not it conforms to any current signage ordinances. I also want you to take a good look at the parking spaces. They're too skinny. They don't conform. There's no handicap logo there. So this is just a transparent attempt to steal our valuable signage. It is facing Robertson Boulevard. It's at eye level as you're driving north. The other thing I'll say is you guys are a land use committee. There are 3 dispensaries between Cadillac and Cataragas.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey Silverman, Charles Boyle.
Good morning, my name is Jeffrey Silverman. I'm a member of Knesset Israel, and since this is a hearing about planning, I'd like to address the planning issue. It's the way you manage, the way you plan a city, you consider concentration saturation. It's my feeling that there is a saturation of medical marijuana dispensaries already. Knesset is at 2364, a block and a half away, 2515, a medical dispensary. And a block from that is another medical dispensary at 2622. So basically we're looking at almost within a period of 3 blocks, 3 medical dispensaries, medical marijuana dispensaries. I'm not interested in shutting down medical marijuana dispensaries. I'm suggesting that that you're considering planning, how you plan a city. This is an important thing to consider, the concentration saturation. Not to mention that it is right next to a synagogue with children. And the basic decorum, how does a business is that it?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Charles Boyle, I believe it's Donald Goodman, and Grace Shaw. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, thank you. What I have here is a copy of a document I got from the building department about painting on walls.
Okay.
As a start at the relevant paragraph, I want to point out that the medical marijuana shop is 1 block away from Shenandoah Elementary School, and there is another medical marijuana shop within a block and a half of the shop that's been appealed. And the question is, how many of these shops do we need in the neighborhood? My own relationship with Mr. Rubin was good, I think still is good, except that he painted the wall on the synagogue without asking us about it, and it turns out that he said he had permission from the building department, which is patently not correct. They told me at the building department that it is illegal to put any sign on that wall, either his sign or our sign. So he's placed us in jeopardy by painting a sign on our wall.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Daniel Goodman, Grace Shaw, and Marge Safania. Good morning, sir.
I just want to, thank you, council members. I just want to clarify, this was the operator who was on KFI yesterday promising 8 ounces to anyone who came and spoke in their favor. If this is such a respectable business, why are they resulting to such unethical activities? Why are they stating publicly they will engage in illegal activities? And for what? To what depths? Previous application was right next to a school. This one next to a place of worship. If it is a discussion that they desire on the legalization of marijuana, let's have that debate in the public forum with the neighborhood councils. But this backdoor tactic, this is the exploitation of the pain of the suffering to promulgate their agenda. Reject it.
Thank you. Grace Shaw. And Marge Safinia, and then we'll have Susan Moss. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Grace Shaw. I actually live in San Diego right now. And San Diego has a really hard time with access.
Would you mind speaking a little bit louder?
Oh, I thought I heard me. Okay, I'm Grace Shaw. I actually live in San Diego right now. San Diego has an extremely hard time with access. We're just now opening safe cannabis clubs for us to go to. But I'm here to talk about Craig, and he's just a very important person in my life. He's been there for me through some really, really, really hard times now as a pastor. My husband just passed away 2 months ago, and he has been there to support me and my family, and I just think it's a very important person in my life. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Marge Safinia, Susan Moss, and Karen Jett.
Good morning. My name is Marge Safinia. I'm the co-chair of outreach at the South Robertson Neighborhood Council, where Mr. Rubin's dispensary is located. A number of people have talked about the number of dispensaries we have on Robertson. Mr. Rubin mentioned 6 from Santa Monica to Cattaraugus. 4 of those are within 3 blocks. The 3 blocks right surrounding him. A number of the neighbors surrounding his business have complained to our neighborhood council, and I just want to quickly run through some of what we've heard. I'm representing their voices. We've had neighbors complaining about seeing groups of young people smoking marijuana in their cars on the street, empty marijuana canisters being left on the street. A number of the neighbors have felt intimidated by the applicant. The unauthorized painting on the synagogue, which they've spoken about, and the neighborhood council itself was threatened lawsuit by Mr. Rubin, each one of us individually, because he alleged that we had forged a letter from the DEA to his landlord. And then he followed up saying that he'd like money from us to make the suit go away. The suit never transpired, and neither did the money. Finally, just 1 second, there's an article that I've given you where Mr. Rubin is alleging racism on behalf of Councilmember Wesson because of the business across the street.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's not in Mr. Wesson's district, and he would know that shortly.
Thank you very much. Marge Stefania, then Susan Moss, and Karen Jett.
Hi, my name is Susan Moss. I live in Los Angeles. I'm actually here. I'm a caregiver. I'm not a patient. And I have been a caregiver for many years for different people. I'd like you to know that when I I've gone into various dispensaries, and I must say that Mr. Rubin's dispensary is laid out differently. I feel more like I'm going into a pharmacy versus going in to buy drugs. The people I take care of and that I've been caretakers for are people in their 70s and 80s who also feel comfortable going into Mr. Rubin's store, where they have tried to go into other stores and have felt intimidated. They have felt like they were buying drugs. They were not comfortable there. Craig's store is next door to a t-shirt store, and I believe actually that the signage that the temple keeps referring to actually belongs to the t-shirt shop, which is next door to the Beverly Hills Green Cross, not the Beverly Hills Green Cross themselves. I have to say that if you close them down, I don't know where I will go, because I do not like, I do not like appearing to be going and buying drugs when I'm getting medication for people who need it. I voted for it.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Caitlin Jett and Kyle Carduck and Christine Agassi.
My name is Kaylin Jett, and I was a resident of Granada Hills and Van Nuys Irwin Street for 12 years. And I'm coming to speak on behalf of stopping to cut a community resource and start adding back to the community. It's a waste of the police department, detective, DA, city attorney's time, and other city resources by going through a process when we've already legalized as the citizens of the state of California that this is something we can go through. If the dispensary is in compliance with the Compassionate Use Act and the guidelines they're following, and they're not endangering minors, or minors that are patients have written permission from their caregivers to be there to obtaining medicine, they're within the rights that are already approved, and they're acting as private businessmen and citizens of the United States and of California. I'm a patient. I'm a UC Berkeley graduate. I graduated early. I was an honor roll student in my high school. All I ask is for a safe way to get my medicine where I'm not going to be put in danger, I'm not putting the community in danger, and I'm giving other businesses an opportunity to give back with services like worship, alternative medicine, alternative resources that aren't currently available to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle Cowarduck, Christine Agassi, and Martin Lieberman. Is Kyle here? Okay.
Where's that microphone? Okay. Hi, my name is Kyle Cowarduck, and I was happy when Proposition 215 passed. There are many benefits to having legal medical marijuana. One of them is that you can get your medicine that's safe. You know it isn't laced with something else. And you also know that it isn't with some heavy pesticide like Miracle-Gro, and it won't hurt your throat. But then there were problems because for the first few years that I was a patient, or for the first bunch of years I was a patient, I didn't want to go to the buyers co-ops because the prices were so high that it was just you'd get a better deal getting your medicine on the streets. Until about 2 years ago when there finally were so many co-ops that there was competition. And it turns out that the co-ops that have been opened after the ICO seem to have the better prices for your medicine. And what do you expect us to do when this is over? Do you expect us to go to co-ops where they're going to jack the prices up again?
Thank you. Christine Agassi.
Thank you. Christine Agassi. I live on Bedford Street in the South Robertson Neighborhood Council District. A couple of quick points. 2370 South Robertson is just over 800 feet from the Shenandoah Elementary School. It opened across the street from an existing MMD. So patient access is a non-starter as far as Mr. Rubin's business is concerned. Further, there are other MMDs located nearby that opened prior to the passage of the ICO. And finally, Mr. Rubin has displayed a flagrant disregard for the neighborhood and the surrounding businesses in our area. So I implore this committee to work with businesses and local stakeholders to develop regulations that will allow us to peacefully coexist. And I hope that can be handled after these hardship applications are dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Patrick Moore? Martin Lieberman, Patrick Moore, and then David Lizama. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Martin Lieberman. I'm the Vice President of the South Robertson Neighborhood Council. I want to speak to you on basically two items. The first item is that there's something that is somewhat offensive where you have operators who are using a hardship exemption to open facilities when they haven't gone through the process. In order for the process to work, they should apply for the hardship, they should go through the hearing, and they should be approved for the hardship exemption before they open their facilities. That's not what's happened here. If you look at a recent Wall Street Journal ad, there's a commercialization of opening medical marijuana facilities in Southern California. Throughout the country, they are being bombarded by attorneys saying, if you will just give us $5,000, we'll take you through the process and open a planning thing. So I'd call your attention to that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Patrick Moore, David Lizama, and BK Butach, I believe.
Greetings, and again, thank you for your time. This seems to be well, personally, I know Craig X. Rubin to be a compassionate and a caring man. I know he takes his responsibility as a medicinal provider very seriously. And again, it's an extremely complicated time when you're expecting the people who are running these clubs to follow through with a lot of regulations, and you yourselves have not the city itself has not created a clear definition of how the clubs should be run and where they should be run. You're saying not next to a school, not next to a church, not next to a synagogue, not next to a liquor store, not next to a hotel, not in a poor neighborhood, not in a rich neighborhood. It's unfair to put this kind of responsibility on club owners when we can't get a defined, clear definition from the city itself on where and how to do this. I just hope you can take that to heart and really understand that this goes back to the matter of whether sick people can get their medicine. Again, there's a lot of talk that there are too many clubs, and I still insist there are not enough clubs for the California, for the West Coast, for America. This is really the beginning of a new time, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David Nizama, B.K. Bataj, the Reverend Patrick Duff. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, council members. I think it's really sad that some of the public comments are using religion to try to sway the committee. But for the record, the Bible nowhere discourages the use of herbs or anything like that. And in fact, it prescribes using herbs. And I will quote, "And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after its kind. And God saw that it was good." I'm quoting from Genesis chapter 1. "Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man. That which cometh out of the mouth defileth a man." Matthew 15:11-1. "In later times some shall speak lies in hypocrisy, commanding to abstain from that which God hath created, to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth." Paul 1.
Thank you, sir. B.K. Bataj, Reverend Patrick Duff, Richard Castellano, I believe, and Jason Adams.
Morning, B.K. Botesh, Los Angeles, California, member of Knesset Israel. I'm very concerned. First of all, we sympathize with all the people that are ill and use marijuana for medical reasons. Nor I or nor anybody in our synagogue challenge the legality of marijuana, and we simply don't care who uses it, who does not, as far as the legality. But Mr. Rubin has created a nuisance in our area. He's hired what I believe to be gangs to operate his facility over there. They have 2 pit bull dogs on top. Walking my kids to Temple Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, and Saturday late afternoon, I have to deal with people that, one guy will come and buy marijuana, and then there's a car on the side with 6 other gentlemen parked on the side that are waiting to get their share of whatever the first person bought. One of the gentlemen that was here earlier, they threatened the members of our staff. We asked him to remove the signage from our wall. He has 4 or 5 guys that immediately come out and threaten the older Holocaust survivors of our temple. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Reverend Patrick Duff, Richard Castellano, and Jason Adams. Good morning, sir.
Greetings. This is actually an issue that's a little separate from the other issues because he's also a church. So you guys have to consider the First Amendment here. I'm a Rastafarian, okay? And the Rastafarian faith, the sacrament of our faith is cannabis, okay? It's not alcohol, okay? There's nowhere in the Catholic Church you guys walk into a Catholic church and arrest them for serving alcohol to minors that they do every day, okay? Now, in a faith-based organization such as Craig's or such as mine, it's handled much differently than your normal dispensary, okay? It's handled with spirituality, too. Now, I'd like to say, for the record, Craig was open pre-moratorium. For the record, clubs that have opened after the moratorium have been made compliant, such as 2823 Hyperion Avenue. For the record, that is unconstitutional against the 14th Amendment. And if you'd like, I have business cards for the House of Kush that opened up after the moratorium and is made compliant by Building and Safety.
Thank you, sir. Richard Castellano and Jason Adams will be our last speaker.
All right, I'm Richard Castaldo. I have a spinal cord injury. I use medical marijuana for pain, leg spasms. I understand if you shut these places down, where I'm supposed to go. I know they say there's 6 medical marijuana facilities. Well, there's a lot of Starbucks too. Are you going to shut Starbucks down next because caffeine can be bad to some people? There's caffeine addicts. I'm a big fan of liberty as well, and I think this to me is taking away people's liberty to get access to medicine and I think medical marijuana is a lot better than a lot of the stuff they advertise on the evening news too, like Zoloft or like, Vicodin or the stuff Rush Limbaugh was on, for instance, or any of that stuff. Michael Jackson was on all kinds of stuff that killed him. He probably would have been benefited from medical marijuana instead of being injected with whatever that drug was, I forget. But anyway, the point is that,
Please continue your thought.
What is the point?
Finish your thought, sir. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think medical marijuana is pretty benign compared to a lot of stuff, and I understand why you would shut down a business during a recession. That makes no sense to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, Jason Adams, our last speaker.
Thank you for your time. I'm a
You can lift the
patient.
microphone.
Yeah. I'm diagnosed with some emotional disorders, and I prefer the use of natural herbs to psychotropic drugs. And Craig is given a place to dispense this in a very discreet and very responsible way. And he also runs a retail shop where I'm able to sell my T-shirts and provide a source of income for myself. I'm struggling with the economy. I lost my job. I'm a hard worker, college graduate. And I think we could all get along and respect the laws that California has passed to legalize it, and that should be it. I think it shouldn't become an issue of black, brown, white, Catholic, Christian, Jewish. I don't know what's going on here. It's just, it can be resolved,
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's call the council office and microphone, please. That concludes the public hearing comment.
Good morning, council members. Andrew Westall, Senior Deputy for City Council Member Herb Wesson. This application was filed 18 months after the ICO. In the application, the applicant claims that he should be granted a hardship based on the conflict between federal and state law and his forced relocation. The conflict between federal and state law in and of itself does not constitute a hardship. I did get a chance to review the supplemental materials that the applicant's attorney provided to the committee this morning, 21 months after the ICO went into effect. That application or that supplemental material is still deficient in terms of the forms or other material required under the ICO. In the letter provided by Councilmember Wesson asking for denial of this hardship, it also cites, as the community has pointed out, the proximity to the synagogue and the elementary school. And so we respectfully ask that you deny the hardship application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, Councilman Ray, based on this application submitted, and do you have any questions? I'm sorry. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions. I have comments, but I'll take yours first.
Thank you, sir. Just based on the application submitted and given all the testimony from the public, in particular the council office's recommendation, I do not see any reasons that really speak to the hardship provisions of the ICO ordinance. And also given that this facility is operating and as such operating illegally given the intent of the ICO, I would move that we deny the application.
And I think also, and I'll second that, I think also the ICO in Section 8 makes it clear why the ordinance was put in place. And one of those reasons were the concerns that many citizens have raised relating to close proximity to residences, schools, places of worship, and other sensitive uses. And certainly with the direction of the ICO, in addition to being considerably later than it directs, the placement of this location is in complete disregard for the concerns expressed in this ordinance. why you would put a medical marijuana dispensary virtually next door to a synagogue and in close proximity to a school. Makes no common sense whatsoever. It doesn't meet the time, and it also sounds like it's a nuisance to the neighborhood. And so on that basis, I think we really have little choice other than to deny it.
Okay, so that'll be the action of this committee. Go back to item number 3.
Item 3, council members, is a medical marijuana hardship application filed by Pico Collective located at 1355 Janice Avenue in CD10, and there's also a letter from Councilmember Wesson.
Okay, can I have the applicant, please?
Good morning. You guys ready for me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Natalia Plyam. Me and my husband own Pico Collective. I want to tell you that I'm a bit disappointed as I had begged council members of my district to reschedule this hearing for next week because my husband went to San Francisco to take my uncle, who is stage 3 pancreatic cancer, to his chemo treatment. However, we were denied this simple request. Unlike Rainforest Collective, last month they've been given the opportunity to reschedule because their council had to take his kids to some camp. So a little unfair, but as such, I listed my objections, so I'm not going to be reiterating them. I'm just going to say that we have no complaints from our neighbors. As a matter of fact, I went to see Pico Neighborhood Council, Scott McNeely, on the 8th of July, and I had shared pictures of our collective, which is within well over 1,000 feet away from any sensitive use. Additionally, we made it ADA accessible. We made sure there's plenty of parking. However, we choose not to use one of the parking lots the size of a small park to use as a buffer zone between us and the residents. As such, having said that, one of the members of Pico Neighborhood Council meeting comes to our collective to get their medicine without naming any names. So I don't understand why anybody would be upset that we're there. We're both law school graduates. I graduated from Thurgood Marshall School of Law in 2000 in Houston. I came here to take care of my terminally ill grandmother. I dispensed marijuana to her from 2000 to 2004 when she died. This is not important. What's important, unfortunately, my husband couldn't be here as he's still taking care of my uncle, and he's dispensing marijuana to him since 2006 as he was diagnosed. That's the only thing. Guess that's it. Any questions for me?
Not at this moment.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Brett Stone. Then Craig Rubin and Patrick Moore.
Thank you. Good morning again, council members. We have to stop meeting like this. Someone might complain to the downtown neighborhood council that you're talking to a pot advocate. Once again, I'm here to use my time to ask you, to appeal to you to please delay these hardship hearings. When you put the moratorium in effect in 2007, there were 6 doctors that were advertising medical marijuana recommendations. Right now, if you open the GEM magazine, there's over 3 dozen of them. And so the patient base has exploded since you put the moratorium in. And that's why there's a need for all of these additional outlets, because you're trying to funnel a patient base that has yet to be defined. And for you to say that the number of the outlets we had at a certain date a few years ago, even though thousands of patients every week are becoming, turning on to medical marijuana, you need to give us regulations so that everybody can follow. I understand the concerns of neighborhoods, the proximity to sensitive use areas, but we also need to address the fact that it's medicine, it's not an illegal drug.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. And just for the record, we are working on a permanent ordinance. We hope to have it out and enforced as soon as possible. We are working with the new city attorney. As soon as they are done with the draft, we will be implementing to do exactly what you just said. So thank you,
The
Mr.
June
Stone.
6th draft, the last version that's been out,
That is one of the drafts that we're looking at, yes.
is there another draft besides that?
Well, here's another one, but thank you very much.
And where is that available at?
Thank you very much, Mercy.
Well, if you're working on it, can
Thank
we
you,
see
sir.
it? Well, can we see the ordinance?
We're done, sir. Craig Rubin?
Thank you again, council members, for the opportunity to address you. What I'd really like to focus on is the fact that there's over 800 medical marijuana clubs that have applied for this application, and that with the economy the way it is, that means there's 800 commercial retail landlords that are receiving income for their place. The gentleman, Richard Castaldo, who was shot in Columbine, who works for me, who spoke here at the end, he's the type of person that's employed at these places. He works for me, he comes in and helps us out, and we need to continue to provide jobs and rent these places. And the biggest priority for me to express to the council is simply the economic impact that it would have on closing down these places. And what my concern is that you're selecting some places within the community to shut down and not others. And it's done on a very capricious basis. And again, I'll even stop her for a minute. I appreciate the time. I just want to emphasize the financial impact that this has, that marijuana is potentially brings money to the city of Los Angeles economy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Patrick Moore, Damon Goodman, and the Reverend Patrick Duff.
All right, I'm a little embarrassed to watch what happened in the last round, to see that Craig X, if Craig X can't maintain his status and place as a dispensary, I don't know who's going to be able to. I talk to people all over the world, and as they ask me what's it like living in Los Angeles, I can explain to them very proudly there are a lot of good things going on here, but more and more I'm becoming embarrassed that I'm living in a city that is shutting down collectives, which are also businesses, and as we're having economic hard times, shutting down businesses that are compassionately providing medicine that works for people. I don't know if you're familiar with the film Run from the Cure, the Rick Simpson story. There's kind of a fringe, I think, where people are using the medicine to offset some pain or maybe to offset chemotherapy. There are people using this medicine to cure cancer today. There are people using this medicine to offset serious, and there's an industry behind it that would like to not see this happen. And I would like to see the city council side on the side of people, side on the side of compassion, and side on the side of people who need this medicine. And please reconsider some of the things you're doing and do what you can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Damon Goodman, Reverend Patrick Duff.
Good afternoon. I don't know the young lady, but I do know if she's a lawyer, you guys are going to have a fight on your hands after this. But I do know that if she was opened anywhere before the time of 6/23/09, that was before the time that the House of Kush Incorporated's application was accepted by the city, and their grand opening was a week ago, and they're compliant. So just for the record, for her hearing, her constitutional 14th Amendment right has been stepped on and walked on too by the city. But besides that, I want to go to something different with the city. You guys are dealing with Proposition 215, which if you look in the Supreme Court of the state of California, the plant count limit was shot down and said since SB 420 was not a voter initiative, okay, that you wrote, that no plant count can be made, correct? The Supreme Court said that. So the same thing's going to happen to you here. How can you put a number of the collectives for the largest state in the world?
Thank you.
If Prop 215 didn't say it, you can't do it.
Thank you very much. I believe that covers all the speaking cards on this item. Council members, Weston's office, please.
Council members, Andrew Westall, Senior Deputy with City Council Member Herb Wesson's office. This application was filed 17 months after the ICO. In the application, the applicant states the conflict between federal and state law as a reason for hardship. As I've stated previously, the conflict between state and federal law in and of itself does not constitute a hardship. The application was also deficient in terms of the documents that are required under the ICO. And the two documents that were provided, the lease and the Board of Equalization seller's permit, have dates on them near the same time as the application, which was 17 months after the ICO. In the letter by Councilmember Wesson requesting denial of the hardship, it also states the proximity to a preschool as well as a drug rehab counseling center. And so we respectfully ask for denial of the hardship application. As was stated by the applicant as well, there was a request for a continuance based on the comments that she made. Councilmember Wesson did consider that continuance, but given the fact that we have the council break coming up and that there won't be another plum meeting until next month, we felt that it was important that we moved forward today and once again requesting denial of the hardship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Russell. No, ma'am. Councilman, any comments? Okay, well,
Okay with me.
okay, we'll deny the hardship exemption based on.
No, I was referring to her addressing that one.
Oh, you want
that
to
one
speak?
issue.
Well-
Just to that one issue for
That's all right, okay. We're
20
just,
seconds.
Come on, man.
How nice. Is it on?
Yes.
Okay, once again, hello. There is no sensitive use. We complied with every single piece of information available, such as Attorney General guideline, in opening a collective. And I feel that being 700 some feet away from massage parlor is not a sensitive use. We're within 1,000 feet from preschool, from any sensitive use. We're across the street from oil refinery, for heaven's sake. Where do you want me to be? Out of my house? On the street again? I mean, sorry, not gonna go there again.
I was just asking you about the preschool.
No,
Thank
there
you.
is no preschool within 1,000 feet. Gentleman is mistaken. I did a radius map search. I'm also California licensed broker, so I did my homework before doing anything. I've been doing my homework for 3 years before stepping into this one. And obviously, I didn't do such a good job because city council office, strike that, city clerk's office said, it's okay to open. They're not reviewing the applications anyways. So who am I supposed to listen and who am I supposed to look for guidance if you are not giving me guidance? If I begged a council office last night because we had a scheduled trip to San Francisco, I canceled the trip for myself so my husband can take my terminally ill uncle for chemo. It's no excuse, but it's just humanitarian perspective. Speaking of, I've been given 48-hour notice. I'm sorry, I have a life. I have children. I have family. Yes, I did cancel my trip, and yes, I am here to protect my rights, which are obviously nobody cares about here.
Thank you.
Councilmember? Anything else? No?
No, that was my only question.
Okay. Again, given the testimony before us, the evidence before us, and given the recommendation from the council office, I move to deny the application for the hardship exemption.
And I'll second that.
Okay. The action of this committee. Next item, Roberto.
Next item, council members, item 4. It's an application filed by Samira Iverson from the medical marijuana ICO. It's a hardship exemption request for pain relief located at 1359 Redondo Boulevard in CD10, and there's a letter from Councilmember Wesson.
Okay, can I hear from the applicant on number 4, please? Is the applicant here for number 4? Applicant is not here. We do have some cards on this item. We have Craig Rubin, David Goodman, and Reverend Patrick Duff.
Thank you once again for hearing me. I'd just like to point out, as my dad pointed out, who's worked with you guys a lot, I know he recruited the city manager for West Hollywood when Mr. Koretz was the mayor, that it just seems like a complete waste of your time to even be here, because you guys are simply denying every single one. And I know there's been 44 applications that have come before, and you simply denied them. I don't know why you gentlemen would waste your valuable time. I'm sure Mr. Weezar, you, Mr. Reyes, and Mr. Koretz have more important things to be doing with this city. Our city has so many problems. It seems as if you're just going to deny every single one. And I think what people what you need to realize is this is providing jobs. I mean, that's the most important thing. When you're talking marijuana, if someone's doing something illegal, if what they said was going on outside of my place, people should be arrested. We give it to them in a bag, and they're not allowed to open until they take home, according to the guidelines. So you're just closing down businesses that are employing people and paying rent, and I just want to make that you're aware of that. And my suggestion is not to waste more of your own time, but thank you very much for listening.
Daniel Goodman here. Reverend Patrick Duff.
I'll never waive public comment. Mr. Koretz authored SB 420, and as I stated before, what the city is getting themselves into here is a bit of a legal situation that they shouldn't get themselves into, because there's nowhere in Prop 215 that it actually regulates the number of collectives, the number of patients, the number of doctors. It doesn't say that just in the city of Los Angeles, Prop 215 gives the city council the right to take away our voters' rights. An initiative was passed, which was a voters' initiative of Proposition 215. The only way a voters' initiative can be overturned is by how, folks? Another voters' initiative. Well, SB 420 was not a voters' initiative. Your moratorium is not a voters' initiative, and it will be shot down in the state Supreme Court as SB 420's plant limit count was that Mr. Koretz made. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Russell.
Council members, Andrew Westall, Senior Deputy for City Council Member Herb Wesson's office. This application was filed 17 months after the ICO went into effect. The reason for the hardship stated is the conflict between state and federal law. As I've noted before, the conflict between state and federal law in this issue in and of itself does not constitute a hardship. This application is also deficient from all the documents that are required under the ICO. And in the letter written by Councilmember Wesson requesting denial of the hardship, we also talk about the proximity to schools and a methadone clinic. And so based on that information and based on the insufficient documentation in the application, we would respectfully ask that you deny this hardship application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, based on the application submitted, public testimony, and District 10's recommendation, the applicant cites fear of federal prosecution, management skills, compassion, knowledge amongst the reasons, which do not demonstrate any hardship from the provisions of the ICO ordinance, including but limited to reasons the applicant was able to register with the city clerk pursuant to Section 3 of the ordinance, as well as the fact that the council office cites proximity to sensitive uses. Therefore, I would move that we deny the hardship exemption.
Second.
Of the action of this committee. Number 5, Roberto.
Item 5, council members, it's an application filed by Joshua Broussard. Heather Broussard is the representative. It's an application filed as an exemption to the medical marijuana ICO for the dispensary located at 8540 Venice Boulevard in CD10, and there's a letter from Councilmember Wesson.
Okay, do we have the applicant for item number 5?
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Heather Broussard, attorney at law. I'm speaking on behalf of California's Finance Compassionate Cooperative Incorporated. I'd first like to state that this is a not-for-profit cooperative that is incorporated. It incorporated on December 12th, 2006 with the Secretary of State per the Attorney General guidelines that were in place for medical marijuana dispensaries. That is the law that was in place when this dispensary first went into effect. It opened operation in Los Angeles in June of 2007, prior to September 14th when the ordinance went into effect. So we were relying on state law at that time when it opened. After that, we were told that we needed to register with the city within 60 days, with which we did. On October 10, 2007, we registered with the city, filed all the appropriate documentation. So at this period in time, this dispensary is 100% in compliance with all the ordinances that are in effect at this period of time. The only problem at this time is the 1,000 feet requirement from the what's listed in the letter away from the schools and such forth. When we opened, we looked at the property profile report, which listed that we were 500 feet from a school and a park area. It's the best we could do based on the fact that the city did not have any law in place when we had actually opened up. The new location that we had to move to, because the DEA sent a letter to our landlord evicting us, is literally next door. Same parking lot, it's one building over, and it's a better location. To open up the first dispensary cost $45,000. To move, it cost another $62,000 because to put in security cameras, gates, and all the steel plating in the walls is very costly. This dispensary has already put out $107,000. To move back to the original location, which we can, with the landlord's permission, we have, would cost another $20,000. The reason why we're asking you to just go with the move now is that this location is better than the old location. It's in a back alleyway. It is not on Venice Boulevard. It has a full fence around it with security guards in the area, with full cameras, and there's no signage. No one even knows it's there. There are currently 1,000 patients at this location that rely on this. There are 10 employees. This dispensary is a model dispensary and is willing to work with the city going through these growing pains. It's been a 2-year process for the city, as well as it's been a 2-year process for this dispensary. We're as up to date as we could possibly be on what the laws are in effect. And just so the council members know, we do have a new location to move to if the law that we have seen that's being proposed for September 14th, 2009 were to pass. The reason why we're not going to that location is because it's incredibly costly to open these dispensaries up and to provide the security that's necessary. So we're kind of sitting in limbo until the city tells us what the laws will be, or we would be in compliance.
Thank you, Ms. Broussard.
Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you.
Ed Stone and David Goodman.
Good morning, council members. Brett Stone, Studio City.
Good morning, sir.
Long meeting this morning. The chairs are a little uncomfortable in the back, but once again, this is a case of a dispensary that had registered, had to move because the DEA told them to move, and originally you said hardships. Well, fill out the application because you have to move. Again, the city's failed to draw up an ordinance. Once again, I'll say that certain members of council are being manipulated by people that were members of collectives pre-ICO, and they've gathered together as a political force, and they've been meeting with certain members of council, and I'm aware of these meetings. Other advocates have tried to get into these meetings, and they've been shut out of these meetings. Council is only listening to certain points of view, and it's clearly, just like everything else in this city, you're being bought, and it's just a travesty. You dropped the ball by not giving us the ordinance that you promised us, and now you're blaming the collectives, and it's your own fault. Thank you.
Again, for the record, opening up a dispensary is the individual choice. Application of hardship exemption does not give you the legal right to open up the store, so I want to be very clear about that. Reverend Goodman? Reverend Patrick Duff?
Well, out of any of the ones that I've heard so far, I sure think she's got her stuff together today. And if it's another blanket denial, because it seems like when you go into the denial phase, you're like reading a script. And to me, that's scary. Because the last one made a couple of good points of interest that weren't even thought about. As you're not listening to me, you probably don't listen to the applicants either. So the thing I'd like to bring up on this one here is they were pre-ICO, as they say. They've moved once, as I had to move several times. It's very difficult being a medical marijuana facility and not having to move with all the different things that happen. So if this is a blanket denial, then my question to you folks is, what is it that we have to do? What are the regulations that you want us to do? I mean, are you going to just keep creating hoops that we have to jump through and until they get smaller and we can't jump through them anymore? And put your own people in place like you did at my Liberty Bell Temple?
Thank you, sir. Josh Broussard.
Good morning, Council. Thank you for your time. My name is Joshua Broussard, President and a resident of Los Angeles. I just wanted to point out we were a pre-ICO registered club. Pointing to the Council, the frequently asked questions that was published on the Planning and Land Use Committee website came out March this year. If we look at number 6, obviously we look at number 3, and it says, if I registered my dispensary, am I allowed to move? No, unless you are approved for a hardship exemption. Number 5 goes on to say that the process that you would have to go to get a hardship permit exemption, which is today. Then if you go on to number 6, it says, can I continue to operate my dispensary while I am waiting the City Council to act on my request for a hardship exemption? This answer the city gives is no. The mere filing of the request of a hardship exemption does not authorize the operation of a dispensary that had not registered with the city pre-November 13, 2007. We obviously are one of those dispensaries that registered pre-November 13, 2007. We had no information from the city on what to do as far as how to operate. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Councilman Westlaw, I believe.
Good afternoon, Andrew Westall with City
Can
Council.
I just promote you?
What?
Councilman Westall?
Well, it's okay. I'm happy where I'm at for now.
Okay, yeah, smart man.
Once again, Andrew Westall with City Council Member Herb Wesson's office. This application was filed 18 months after the ICO. The reason for the hardship request was based on the need to move. In the application, there is no additional documentation or any of the required documentation under the ICO other than what was provided in terms of just the face or the cover application letter. This particular facility, as noted in the letter by Councilmember Herb Wesson, does have a proximity to sensitive uses as well, and we do request that this hardship application be denied. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Councilman?
The legal issues on this one strike me as a little more unclear than the other ones that we've heard. So unless the city attorney is clear one way or the other, I would suggest continuing this item and allowing the city attorney's office to look into a couple of the legal issues.
Well, Councilman, I'm looking at the application and the assessments, and there are tenant issues. To me, does that constitute a reason for allowing them to continue on hardship exceptions? I mean, that to me is quite frankly insufficient to demonstrate that, but other than that, to refer to the Madam Attorney on that one.
Just Terry Copper, Messiah City Attorney's Office. Just based on some of the things that I heard, I would like some time to just look into this one a little further.
And we can continue. That would be the more prudent approach to assessing this case.
I think so on this one.
Okay, so we will continue. Okay.
May I make the request to possibly continue this beyond September 14th? Just in case there is new law that goes in place, I can present other arguments onto the new dispensary that we'd like to move into.
We will properly notify you through our process, but if we can do that, we will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Which ones are they?
15 and 18.
Okay. Can you just give me about 5 minutes and we'll be right back with you.
Oh, well. I guess we're here.
Okay, folks. What I'd like to do is, in the remaining budget items, the agenda items, I got budget on my mind, is there are quite a few who do not have speaker cards. And given the record and given the recommendation from the council office on those particular items, I'd like to move to deny, given the information on the record, and those items that do not have speaker cards or items number, I'll go through these carefully. 6 has cards, 7 has cards, 8 has cards, 9 has cards, 10 has cards, 11 has cards, 12 has cards, 13.
I gotta tell him.
14. 15 does not have any cards. We can move on that one. 16, 17, 18. Okay. 18 does not have cards. 19 does. 20. 21 has 1 card. Okay, then we have the other items that need to be addressed. And that's item 21, and we do have 1 card on that one. And 21 has several subsets, if you will. And Paul Shively, I believe, would like to come on up. We can take care of this so that we can receive and file these items.
And item 11 and 13 were withdrawn, council members.
Withdrawn?
Yes, 11 and 13. In writing.
Okay. Shively, Mr. Shively, item 21, we have several that fall into this category that we will receive and file, but I do want to recognize you, given the card you submitted.
Thank you. Just a quick note on this. I have a matter of concern on these hardship exemption removals filed on behalf of Mr. Dillon. 2 of the clients, S104 and S110, are clients that we maintain accounting and management for. Neither one of these clients are aware of this hardship removal request. It was filed without their knowledge, and I would actually refer this filing on behalf of that particular law firm to the city attorney's office for possible fraudulent action. He does not represent those people, and Mr. Mark Dillon sold his interest in all 5 of those over the past 16 to 18 months.
So, Mr. Shively, can you... Which case are you referring to, or who are you representing again?
Actually, on S104, that would be, I believe that one's going to come back as Cush Corner 2, and S110 should be, I'm not sure the exact which Cush Corner number. They're operating under a new name at this point. Each one of those were established and then sold inappropriately.
Who can you give me the name of the applicant?
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of the applicant you're representing?
Actually, on this one, it's just a matter of a general interest, not representing them per se. I'm still trying to contact both of them. One of them I've spoken with did not know that his application had been withdrawn by that.
Who is them?
One of them would be Aaron Bullock, who's operating now as what's the name of it? Pharmacopoeia over on Robertson. And the other one, S110, is operating as Forever 20 Caregivers, and they're unaware of this removal of their hardship filing also.
Okay, let's do this. We can meet with my deputy, and I want to make sure we're acting on the proper records. Since what you're giving me is not matching with our information, we're going to hold this on the table. The rest we will receive and file.
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. looking at S110 and S104, those are the two numbers you said, but you're referring to
yes.
an address on Robertson, and neither of those are a Robertson address, so I'm a little confused. Those are
Well,
Ventura Boulevard addresses.
To be honest with you, if you look at each one of these addresses on Ventura Boulevard, it would almost appear that when these were filed, they drove down Ventura Boulevard. Each one of these is a different P.O. box, one of the private mailbox locations. These are not physical addresses. That's why I bring up the matter of fraud.
I don't know. We'll just have to look into those two.
Okay, so we will, on 21, we will receive and file, and we will have Mr. Shelby speak to our clerk and our deputy to make sure we have the proper records that he's referring to. Would that be appropriate, Ms.?
Are you going to receive and file those two items as well, or are you holding those?
Well, I want to make sure we're receiving and filing all the accurate ones, and I'm not sure what
Okay.
your point is here. Are you saying you're representing?
It's sort of since a matter. One of these items is actually in litigation as a fraud case, and I can't really speak much more on that because of the present litigation.
So you're an attorney for?
No, I'm the accountant that manages this. We have law firms under retainer on these items.
I don't know. These were taken in at Terry Kaufman, Macias City Attorney's Office as applications filed by this individual for dispensaries located at, and then it lists the addresses. And I'm not hearing anything that says otherwise. It sounds like there's some dispute between Mr. Dillon, the applicant, and somebody else.
Well, let's just receive and file all of them, and that will be the act of this committee.
And that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
It's your discretion, but I'm not hearing anything to suggest otherwise.
Okay, I would, if it's okay with you, Councilman, we can receive and file 21 with all the different addresses that are attached to it, and then that'll be the action of this committee.
Thank
you. You have a second on that?
All right.
Second.
Okay, so that takes care of 21, and the other items that I had mentioned that do not have cards, and that brings us back to, I believe, item number 6, Roberto?
Yes, council members.
So let's hear from the applicant on item number 6.
It's Jennifer Dardashti. She's a representative, and it's for Herbal Love Cooperative at 748 South San Pedro Street in CD 14.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Stephen Fish. I'm an attorney with the law offices of Eric Shevin. We were just retained to represent Herbal Love Cooperative. For the record, we also contacted a council member Huzar's office, this is a CD14 address, requesting a continuance. We received no response. I've also filed a written request for a continuance today, just to give us additional time to gather documents. In our review of the hardship application, it does not give a clear picture. Before I get into the hardship application, I also want to object for the record to the validity and constitutionality of the interim control ordinance. As to validity issues, the ICO seems to conflict with California Government Code 65858, which does apply to charter cities and has specific requirements as to time limits for ICOs and also specific requirements as to legislative findings. And on the constitutional grounds, on vagueness and overbroadness, there's no definition of any type of hardship or any type of structure to base a hardship on. We'd also object to these proceedings on due process grounds. Since I'm not able to continue this matter, the current hardship application that was submitted does not give a complete picture. I've filed an addendum today with the city clerks that begins to show what really this collective is about. This is a collective that was formed prior to the interim control ordinance. They acquired this location prior to the interim control ordinance. And the reason they were not able to file in time is because at that time they were subject to a criminal prosecution in relations to another location. That prosecution resolved, and they were advised not to file until it did resolve. It did resolve with a dismissal of our charges against the cooperative or the members involved with that cooperative. Denying their hardship today would serve no further purpose. This is a collective that complies with all Attorney General guidelines. They also comply substantially with the proposed city ordinance that has been on file, specifically the 1,000 feet from sensitive uses, signage, no one under 18, no processing of marijuana, and no edibles. It would just create another vacant storefront and create a loss of revenue to the businesses and to those others around, and also the taxes as well.
Thank you, Mr. Fish. Okay. Next speaker, we'll have Richard Smith. Then we'll have Teresa Harris. Then Reverend Andy Bales. Good day, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Smith. I live at 804 East 6th Street, Los Angeles, CJ14. This operational medical marijuana dispensary, the Herbal Love Cooperative, is located in the Skid Row area of Los Angeles. Skid Row is the world's largest recovery community with its many missions, shelters, and other sobriety facilities so necessary for overcoming reckless lifestyles. Our coalition believes that the continued operation of the Herbal Love Cooperative at the corner of Agatha and South San Pedro Streets constitutes a detriment to the safety and goals of this lifestyle recovery community. Therefore, we of the United Coalition East Prevention Project respectfully demand that you deny the exemption or request of this Herbal Love Cooperative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Teresa Harris.
Hi, it's Tanisha Harris. After listening to all the comments about everybody's hardship applications, I hear the arguments and I see that maybe it's not appropriate to have these facilities next to schools or synagogues or churches, but the point is that this is a personal opinion. We live in America. Like, this is medicine we're dealing with. You wouldn't shut down CVS or Walgreens or Rite Aid. So I feel that you guys are looking at this as not a medicine, and that's why you have all these regulations and codes that are not being followed. And these dispensaries, they don't know how to fill out these hardship exemption forms, and you guys are not helping them or advising them or telling them what they need to have on these forms for you to approve them. I feel like you're doing an injustice to all your voters who put you in office. You're not hearing the issue is that this is a medicine, and you would not shut down Walgreens for people to get their medicine. So if you have an idea, which you say you do, help these people fill out these forms so you can hear them and stop denying every single one of these dispensaries that comes up here. You hear the compassion, so just take a minute and figure it out and then explain it to them and let them fill out the form correctly.
Thank you very much. Reverend Andy Bales.
Thank you. Andy Bales, I'm the CEO of Union Rescue Mission. We house nearly 1,000 folks every night on Skid Row. My sympathies to those who suffer from illness. I've had glaucoma since I was 19. I use drops. I'm no more against marijuana than I am more liquor sales on Skid Row, but we have plenty of both on Skid Row. I merely have to take a walk around the block to breathe marijuana smoke in the air. It's destroyed enough lives on Skid Row. It's done enough damage to both the people and the environment. And Skid Row is a place where people need to come to be rescued from addiction, not have it added to. And it's been my experience that people with medical marijuana cards, my experience at Union Rescue Mission, they share it with others who are not prescribed to use medical marijuana. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Estella Lopez. Good morning. Or good day.
Good morning, council members. Thank you very much for your time. I'm Estella Lopez, the Executive Director of the Central City East Association. We administer 3 business improvement districts in downtown Los Angeles spanning 110 blocks. We represent the stakeholders in the Central City East Skid Row area. This particular collective dispensary is located around the corner from my office, so it is with authority that I speak on its impact. I cannot top what Andy Bales said about the neighborhood. It is a place where people come to recover, but it is also a place where people still believe is a place of lawlessness. We cannot bring any more uses into the district that compete with the efforts that are underway now to bring peace, calm, safety, and security to the Skid Row area. We need to keep the mentally ill homeless shielded from these kinds of activities. I can think, with all due respect to the other communities that have testified this morning, I can think of no worse location for a dispensary than the Skid Row area of downtown Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Reverend Patrick Duff.
Okay, so they're not wanted on Pico, not wanted in Beverly Hills, and not wanted in Skid Row. Where can they be? You know, Skid Row is a place where there's heroin sales openly, drug sales openly, all these things done openly, without anybody being verified or checked or anything like that. And with all the information about marijuana, marijuana is used to rehabilitate people with alcohol, people with crystal methamphetamine addictions, people with serious addictions that cause serious problems in our society. Now, if you could take somebody who's on crystal methamphetamines, okay, and you can switch them over to marijuana, the DEA did their own study where they said the eradication of marijuana actually leads to more of the use of crystal methamphetamines. So that means the more eradication that you do of the cannabis facilities, the more hard drugs, the more crystal meth users, coke users, and robberies will happen, and rapes. Crime goes up when you take us away, not down.
Officer Mark Highland, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Officer Mark Highland from Newton Division, Los Angeles Police Department. I've been a senior lead officer for the area of 748 South San Pedro for the last 13 and a half years. Some of the concerns I have is the fact that along San Pedro Street on the entire second floor there are many families with children. Also within walking distance we have 8th Street Elementary School. Agatha Street, which runs from San Pedro to Gladys, is one of my major locations for prostitution and narcotic sales. Never have I been approached or has Newton Division been approached as to what potential impacts on public safety would be occurring at that location or within the surrounding area. And I just ask that in the future that if anything is going to be approved, that you do respond to the police department and ask us what kind of impacts there would be. So at this point in time, based on the information I've received, I would ask you to deny this.
Thank you, Officer Highland. Thank you for your hard work. Tara DeBryan from the Council Office.
Good afternoon, council members. Our office has carefully reviewed the application for this location. If you take a look at it, you will notice that the applicant submitted none of the filing requirements, additional materials, etc., and the only reason articulated for the hardship is because of Drug Enforcement Administration sent threatening letters to property owners. DEA also put lots of pressure on the cooperative. Given that the burden is on the applicant to demonstrate the hardship, we do not believe they have met that requirement, and we ask that you deny the application.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
And how long did they file that application after the ICO went into effect?
This application was filed on May 11th of this year, which would mean more than 18 months.
Thank you.
Okay. Any thoughts, any comments, Councilmember? Okay. Well, again, I just want to emphasize that these hearings in these cases, it doesn't, this is not about judging what's good or bad or the uses. What we're here to hear is what kept them from registering on time based on the ICO. We keep hearing comments about what is good, what is bad. This hearing is about what kept them from registering on time by the ICO. That's the essence of the statements we need to hear. So the judgmental issues, the philosophical ones, the political ones, the assertions of what we should be doing with our time is irrelevant given the purpose of this hearing. So again, I just want to emphasize that. That being said, again, based on the application submitted, given the public testimony, given the hard work of our officers and the office's District 14's recommendation, the applicant cites fear of federal prosecution amongst the reasons which do not demonstrate any hardship from the provisions of the ICO ordinance, including non-limited reasons. The applicant was unable to register with the city clerk pursuant to Section 3 of the ordinance, and I would move to deny the hardship exemption.
Second.
Okay, that'll be the action of this committee. Next item, Roberto. Who's the applicant on number 7?
The applicant on number 7, Councilman, is Michael Sulo, and it's for the dispensary located at 4444 East Huntington Drive, South, in CD 14.
Is the applicant present? Okay, we have 2 speaking cards, Patrick Duff, Reverend Patrick Duff.
Just for the record here, I'll state that again, nowhere in Prop 215 does it state that you guys have the authority to control the number of collectives in the state. Also, I'd like to state for this person's record, since they're not here, that 62309 hardship application was filed by the House of Cush Incorporated at 2823 Hyperion Avenue. And Building and Safety, if you go to the Building and Safety website, it says that the date of compliance for House of Cush Incorporated is 62909. And if that's true, then these folks who filled it out on May 11th were well before the House of Cush Incorporated at 2823 Hyperion Ave, yet the House of Cush Incorporated was found in compliance. And that being said, the lowest form, let's say then, of legal standard that you would have to meet is the standard that House of Cush met, which is they had no occupancy at the time, and their hardship was filed with no papers, but they were fully compliant. So if the city attorney or anybody answer that, I'd love that.
Okay. Council Member Devine? I'm sorry, Council District 14, Taylor Devine.
Hello, Tara Devine, CD14. Our office has likewise reviewed this application. It was filed on May 22nd of this year, more than 18 months after the interim control ordinance. The reasons articulated for being unable to register. We met the checklist requirements, but never heard about the deadline to submit paperwork until after. Again, no supplementary materials attached. We believe that the burden is on the applicant to prove the hardship. We do not feel that the application proves a hardship, and we ask that you deny the request for hardship exemption.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Move the item.
Okay, so again, based on the evaluation of the district office and the reasons given in the application, does not qualify for the hardship on the ICO, so I move to deny the hardship. Next item, Humberto.
Item 8, council members, it's an application filed by Armin Stepien, and it's medical marijuana ICO hardship request for Herbal Medicine for You, Inc., located at 2637 Whittier Boulevard in CD 14.
Is the applicant here on number 8? Seeing none, we do have Reverend Patrick Duff. Sir. The Reverend, the applicant is here? Okay. Okay, a quick 5. I'll be right back. I'll be right back, Councilman.
Hi, City Councilor. My name is Armen Stepanian, and the address is 2637 Herbal Medicine. I have a question. Why you guys take the hardship and you guys denying after? That was my question.
This is not a discussion. We're here to hear your testimony on the reasons why you cannot meet
And because
the ICO ordinance.
Okay, and because we have a lot of patients and they been asking us and what's going to happen if they close the dispensaries, and like we don't know what's going to happen after. Like, that was my question.
Again, so we're waiting for your statement. You've got 1 minute and 22 seconds left. It's up to you to use your minutes the way you want.
Okay. Then I'll be right back.
I'm sorry?
Just give me a minute, I'll be right back.
Do you have a comment to make, sir? A statement?
Yeah, just give me a minute, I'll be right back, Chief.
So you've got 1 minute and 22 seconds left. Madam Clerk, is the clock working? It's not counting down. Okay. Well, we'll hold him. We'll go to the next speaker card, and really it's Reverend Duff, and then the council office. So we'll hold his minute and 22 when he comes back. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
If it might help for that gentleman, I think he needed an interpreter. That's what he kind of was hinting to me out there for, because he can't speak English too well. But as to his situation...
I wish you would have said that, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, as to his situation, let's say, again, I will make the council aware of a situation at 2823 Hyperion Ave, a place that was made compliant, fully compliant for the city at 62909, who didn't open until last week, by the way. So if they're fully compliant, then this fellow here, I don't know his situation, but if he was before the date of 623 of 09 and filed his paperwork, okay, and he has business license and the other things he has, and proof of occupancy, which House of Kush couldn't even show on 629 of 09 because I had the Los Angeles Police Department remove them. But they're fully compliant with the city's medical marijuana licensing. And that's why the fellow back here is saying there's corruption in the city and there's payoffs in the city. Okay, so building inspectors or somebody or council people are getting paid off to deny applications while they allow places to open.
If I could ask a question of the city attorney, we've heard this repeated a few times that a place that just opened is fully compliant with our ordinance. Is there any way that that could be the case?
I don't have any knowledge of that. I mean, I'm not familiar with the property or the matter that he's discussing. So, I mean, I think that the issues here today are these particular hardship exemptions, and if there's an operator that had a set of circumstances that allowed him or her to open, I think, you know, each of these cases have to be addressed on their merits, and I don't think that it's relevant what another operator received or didn't receive. But I can't speak to the particular case.
I can't imagine how a place that would have just opened a week ago could ever be compliant and
I wouldn't think
be
so.
on the same list and come before us at some point for the same enforcement.
It certainly appears to violate the ICO on its face, but I can't speak to the particular. But I don't know, perhaps, you know, okay, well, someone from Building and Safety can address that.
Good afternoon. Frank Bush. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Code Enforcement Bureau, Building and Safety. I'm not aware of any facilities that are approved and operating legally other than the 186 that were on the original approved list that registered prior to the November 13th, 2007. If this is a new location that is opened up, then I've documented it, we'll check into it, and we'll take the necessary enforcement action.
Thank you.
Okay.
So if we're going to evaluate, if I may, Madam Attorney, given what the Building and Safety Inspector just said, if he wants to evaluate this address, do we continue this item to make sure that the paperwork is accurate?
My understanding that the comments that the gentleman keeps making are related to another facility, and I believe what he's trying to say is he's got some other, or he knows somebody who has another facility that is legal, and because of that, then all of these other ones should be treated the same, and they're all legal too. I think that's his argument.
Yes.
And that is not relevant. Whatever, there are 186 or so that applied properly under the ICO and are operating legally. Those are separate. Any other operator, if they have some unique set of circumstances of which the city attorney's office is unaware, and building and safety is unaware, but apparently we'll be looking into, that has no bearing on any of these hardship exemption applications that are in front of you today, which are only addressing, as you stated, what are the facts that indicate why they could not apply timely to like the other 186 did. That's the only thing that's in front of you, and each one of these applications should be taken separately and have no relationship to this other operation that this gentleman is talking about.
Okay. Thank you.
Just quickly mention that the address he keeps mentioning is not on the 186 approved list that's on there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Devine.
Yes, the Terra Divine, Council District 14. We have reviewed the application for this location on Whittier Boulevard. The applicant's articulation of the reason for the hardship is frankly a cut and paste of some common language found on the internet. None of the, given that it's a page and a half long, I'm not going to read all of it into the record, it's before you. However, none of it pertains to this specific location or any specific hardship faced by this particular operator. As such, we do not believe that the applicant has met their requirement to prove a hardship at this location, and we ask that you deny it.
Thank you very much.
And if I could ask again, when did they apply?
April 3rd of this year, so again, more than 18 months after the ICO.
Thank you.
Okay, so based on the application submitted, the public testimony, District 14's recommendation, the applicant cites fear of federal prosecution, management skills, compassionism.
Councilman?
Yes.
Is the applicant present? I think he wanted to speak.
Okay.
Maybe you want to give him that opportunity?
Thank you, Roberto.
He's gone. He's gone.
Okay, we've gone to look.
Excuse me, Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. Just let the record reflect that the officer went out to locate the owner and he was not present. He was unable to be located.
Okay, and we did hold his time and we did ask him to come back. We expected him to come back and he's never returned. Okay, so that being the case, as I was saying before, based on the application submitted, the public testimony, and District 14's recommendation, the applicant cites fear of federal prosecution, the management skills, compassionism, knowledge, facility state, corporate status, board members' experience, amongst the reasons which do not demonstrate any hardship from the provisions of the ICO, and for those reasons, we would deny this hardship exemption. You have a second on that?
Second.
That'll be the action of this committee. Next item, Roberto.
Council members, the next item is an application filed by ABC Caregivers, Inc., hardship application from the medical marijuana ICO. The property is located at 844 Colorado Boulevard, number 106 in CD 14, and also there's a letter that has been submitted to the clerk against this application by the Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council.
Do we have the applicant here? Don't see the applicant, so we do have two speaker cards, Tanisha Harris and Reverend Patrick Duff. Tanisha here? I don't see Tanisha. Mr. Duff, would you like to speak?
Well, again, I'm going to bring up the same situation. And the reason why I bring up the same situation is because we do have a 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment is very powerful, and it guarantees equal protection and equal rights for all the citizens of the United States. Now, equal protection and equal rights doesn't mean that Mr. Tom Willis is going to walk into Global Meds and tell the people of Global Meds if they do not shut down this day, that he's going to come in with the police and forces a business to shut down. At the same time, he walks down the street and helps another one open. Now, I can show you on LADBS's property activity report, okay, that it says date of compliance for 2823 Hyperion Ave says 6/29/09. So if he knows nothing about it, then it was put behind the back door and made compliant. Now, I found one other one that's also compliant. They're also a post-ICO dispensary. They're at 3401 Glendale Boulevard. And they were made fully compliant too. It says compliant on the website. So the 14th Amendment is why I bring this up.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Devine.
Tara Devine, Council District 14. We have reviewed the application for this location. It was filed on May 8th of 2009, more than 18 months after the interim control ordinance. While we do applaud the fact that this applicant actually attached almost all of the required materials, we do not find anything in this application relative to this applicant's specific hardship at this location. We do not believe that they have met the burden of proof for a hardship, and we ask that you deny it.
Okay.
And again, if you could tell us when they submitted this.
Yes, May 8th of 2009, this year.
Okay. So, again, based on the testimony from the district office, the applicant cites location qualities amongst the reasons. And again, they do not meet. Okay, I got it. They cite fear of federal prosecution, management skills, again, compassionism, and these do not demonstrate any hardship from the provisions of the ICO. So I would move to deny the hardship.
Second.
The action of this committee. Next one, Roberto.
Council members, the next one is item 10. It's an application filed by Paul Shives, medical marijuana ICO exemption request for Downtown Discount Caregivers, Inc., located at 111 East 9th Street and CD 14.
Item number 10, that would be,
yes.
I'd like to ask the applicant if they are here. I believe it's Mr. Truman Anderson. Good day, sir.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you've been here and extended yourself, and we appreciate it. One quick request is that you grant a temporary extension for Sean Rosen. He is in New York. He has a sick grandmother that's been hospitalized, and he cannot be here on such short notice. We just got the news, so if you could please find it in your heart to extend it, we would certainly appreciate it. And the basis for that extension would not be to waste your time. Mr. Rosen is and did have a pre-ICO corporation. He upgraded his pre-ICO corporation that was a C Corp to a not-for-profit mutual benefit corporation in order to comply with the Attorney General's guidelines, and all he was doing was upgrading. He then moved to a commercial zone area. There's no schools, no churches, no public there's nothing in the area that would not comply with the state attorney general guidelines at the new location where we are. So we're not in a position to present our paperwork. We humbly ask that you please grant us an extension.
Before I do that, let me ask the council office of the request, Ms. Devine. They are asking for an extension, given the reasons you just cited. I'd like to ask you your opinion on that, and what would be your recommendation?
I'm confused because the name that's being mentioned does not reflect the name that I have on the file. Can you clarify the relationship?
Mr. Shively is also the accounting. I work with Mr. Shively. We do the accounting and book work for Mr. Rosen at Downtown Discount Caregivers.
It's up to you, Ms. Devine, if you want to give them the extension, or we can move on the case today and proceed.
Given that an applicant representative is here, I don't see a need for an extension.
Okay.
Also, based upon, as you will note, an application that is woefully inadequate, so I believe the applicant has had substantial amount of time to submit documents to the record and has not done so.
Okay.
Has this property been a nuisance in any way? Have you gotten complaints?
Mr. Devine?
It is actually my understanding, I believe there's someone here who will be testifying on this item, so they can answer that question for you as well and speak to the question of what else is proximate to the site.
Thank you.
Councilmember, any thoughts on the request, or should we move forward? Well, let's move forward. Okay. So go ahead, sir.
Okay. Downtown Discount Caregivers, specifically in reference to the pre-ICO condition, it has been almost 2 years, and I know that's irrelevant in this situation, but only to the fact that everyone, including the 600 additional people who have opened these locations, were under the assumption that the city is okay with what we're doing. It was in the best interest for us to go not-for-profit and to move to an area away from schools, and that's all we've done. And that's all I have to say about the matter. By limiting it to 186, you're creating a monopoly which will drive prices up. And one other thing for the record, our cancer rates are 1 in 3. Okay, 1 in 3. From 20 years ago, 1 in 30,000. Where will we be in a few more years? We need medical marijuana for sick patients. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Teresa Harris is not here. Lynn Myers. Good day, ma'am.
And council members and members of the committee. My name is Lynn Myers. I work for the Fashion District Business Improvement District. We're located at 110 East 9th Street. We are here on behalf of the Fashion District bid to oppose the operation of this medical marijuana clinic and also to request the denial of the hardship exemption. The bid encompasses 115 blocks in downtown LA, and there are also several fashion design schools and education centers. DDC is within 1,000 feet of Otis School of Design, located at 110 East 9th Street. Large campus with hundreds of students. Also, it is within 500 feet of the Downtown Arts Center Gallery, which is at 840 South Main, and this is an art center and nonprofit gallery that is funded by the Exceptional Children's Foundation, whose mission is to train adults with developmental disabilities into working artists. They have year-round classes at this location. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Duff, and if there's anything new you have to add that pertains to this case or any additional information, we would like to hear it. If not, the redundancy is not necessary.
Yes, sir. Again, I'd like to state the 14th Amendment, equal protection for this person. But if you'd like, I have the property activity report here for 2823 Hyperion Ave, right here online. And it says date of compliance is 6/29/09.
Again,
Terry Coppin, Macias City Attorney's Office. It's really irrelevant what another operator has or doesn't have to these proceedings. I mean, the issue's been raised every time. If you gentleman wants to,
if it's not
have
raised,
those comments.
I only have a minute. Can I please have a minute?
If the gentleman wants to incorporate those comments into the remaining items, that's fine. The chair has discretion to limit repetitive comments, and the issue's been raised to building and safety, and they're going to look into it, but it has no bearing on these hardship exemptions.
If I may, Mr. S., it has a bearing because if it's not brought up in the exemption in the hearing, then they can't raise the question at appeal.
Again, I'm going to ask one more time. If there's anything new or relevant to these individual cases, we'd like to hear from you. If there's not, there's not, okay?
Well, as I said, the new thing I can show you is the compliance
Okay,
date.
this is not a discussion. Thank you.
Okay, and just for the record, can I
Thank you
state,
very much.
you allowed
Thank
people
you.
you allowed people to talk about proximity to art
So,
districts.
That's it.
How is that?
Thank
How
you
is that?
very
relevant?
much.
How is art?
Thank you very much. Okay, next item, Rebecca.
Did you take an action on item 10, Councilman?
Well, again, given District 14's recommendation, the applicant cites location, qualities amongst the reasons, which do not demonstrate any hardship from a provision of the ICO ordinance, and called on limited to reasons the applicant was unable to register with the city's clerks pursuant to Section 3 of the ordinance. So I would move to deny the hardship exemption.
Well, I have some concern about the fact that the applicant wasn't able to be here, and I would say the fact that they had started up before the ICO might make the issue a little bit unclear. So I don't know. Again, I'd ask the city attorney's recommendation for whether we should continue this item and allow the applicant to be present.
Terry Coppin, Messiah City Attorney's Office. It's up to the discretion of the committee. I mean, the reason stated was an ill relative. If that's something that the council committee feels is reason to continue the item with some of the statements made about operating prior to the ICO, then it's perfectly within your discretion to continue the item.
Yes, Ms. Doran.
Tara Devine, Council District 14. Just to be clear, it is the position of our office and our understanding that regardless of whether or not the operation operated at a different location and complied and registered prior to the ICO, that does not, under any circumstances, give them the right to transfer that facility to any other location. It is location specific. And in this instance, the application includes absolutely no information, none of the supplementary materials, and offers no evidence that this location even existed somewhere else. Based on the application before you, I would reiterate our request that you deny it.
When was the new application filed?
The application was filed on April 21st of this year and includes nothing, essentially.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember?
Well, based on the condition of the application, I would probably have to second your motion.
Thank you, sir. So that'll be the action of this committee on item 10, correct, Roberto?
Yes, Council.
Okay, so that'll conclude item number 10, and let's move to the next item.
Item 11, Councilman, was withdrawn, and I believe there's a letter on file with the clerk's office. You may wish to deny it.
Okay. Inasmuch as the information included in this application,
It was withdrawn.
it was withdrawn.
Yes, 11.
Number 11, I understand. But also in the application, based on the review, they cite license availability amongst the reasons, which again does not demonstrate any hardship from provisions of the ICO. Madam Attorney, so we have an entity that has withdrawn. Do we still have the purview to act on this and deny the application?
Terry Cockman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. The committee has the discretion with the withdrawn application to either receive and file, or you can move to deny. Either way.
Okay. Councilmember Representative Ms. Devine?
Yes, I'd also like to note or ask for some clarification from the clerk. There is an application that has been requested for withdrawal by the same representative, but at a different address. So based on my review of the case in the file, item 11 is not the same as the request for withdrawal under item 21. Same applicant name, different address given.
I don't think it's being treated at the same. I think those are two separate withdrawals.
There are two separate withdrawals? There is one for 11 also?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
So you don't need to take testimony on it. It's been withdrawn, but I'm just, if you want to know what options you have to and how to deal with that, you can move to deny or move to receive and file.
So, just for the sake of being thorough, I would move to deny the hardship application, and I think it would get to the end goal of hearing what the council member's representative is saying. But that would be my motion. It's up to you, council member.
Well, if we're entertaining a motion to deny, shouldn't we hear the case then before we do that?
I'm sorry?
Have we heard the case that you're moving to deny?
Well, the applicant...
Is the applicant present? No.
There's no speaker. Terry Kaufman, Macias City Attorney's Office. There's no speaker cards on this item, is that correct?
One would presume that would be because
Am I the only speaker?
They think their application's withdrawn, so I wouldn't want to...
For the record, council member, I'll have two cards on this item. It's Ms. Devine and Mr. Duff.
Okay.
And no applicant, doesn't seem that they submitted a card.
So, Terry Kaufman, Macias again. Any person under the Brown Act has the right to speak on any item on the agenda. That's on the agenda. If the gentleman is the gentleman who wants to incorporate the same equal protection comments and the same reference to the Hyperion location, then you can just incorporate that and take your action.
Okay. Okay, so your recommendation?
Council District 14 would defer to the committee on whether or not they want to treat it as they've treated the other withdrawals on the agenda. Otherwise, we would ask that you hear the case, and if so, I'll offer my comments in that regard.
Okay, we do have one card on this, and we'll hear from the speaker, and then Mr. Duff? Thank you, sir. So, again, just for the sake of being thorough, I would recommend that we deny the hardship, even though the request was to withdraw, and given the information that's in front of us.
Could I ask the city attorney whether we would be causing ourselves any legal question by receiving and filing similar cases and hearing this one?
The reason why the items under 21 were treated as receive and files because that's how they were stated on the agenda. If they weren't listed on the agenda that way, then you could have denied it. You probably could have denied it anyway, but just to make sure that there's no issues with that, I felt it was more appropriate to treat those items exactly the way they were stated on the agenda. Number 11, item 11 does not have that same statement on there, so you can, either way, the effect is the same. It's too late for anyone to come back and file now that the ICO has been amended to eliminate the hardship exemption, so you can receive and file it if that makes you more comfortable, or you can deny it.
So we'd be denying it only because of how it was agendized?
I believe that perhaps one of the differences here is that all of the items listed under item number 21, applications for the withdrawal of the application were received prior to the agenda being published. I believe, because this is a surprise to me that this particular case has been withdrawn, I don't believe the withdrawal was submitted until after the agenda was published. So from my personal perspective, I would prefer that you treat it as an item that were agendized today and act upon it as you've acted upon the other agenda items. If there are concerns about it, I would defer to the city attorney and their opinion with regards to the withdrawal request.
If the councilman wants to treat them all the same, and then the motion can just be receive and file.
I would recommend that. It seems like we'd be opening up opening up at least a potential charge that they were treated differently when there doesn't really seem to be a substantive reason to do so. So I would feel more comfortable legally just to receive it and file it along with the others.
We can do that. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Humberto.
Next item, council members, is item 12. It's an application filed by Vaskin Charkian. It's a hardship exemption, the medical marijuana ICO for Chem Care Collective, CA04, located at 5679 York Boulevard in CD 14.
Okay, do we have the applicant? Good day, sir.
Good afternoon. As everybody else here, we did research on our location. We're not in close proximity to any school and any church, and we're just asking for permission to serve our patients, in a safe and secure environment. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Duff, Reverend Duff. Reverend Duff, for the record, is waving off. Okay. Just for the record, he just waved off his public hearing card. So, Ms. Devine.
Tara Devine, Council District 14. We have reviewed the application at this location. It was filed on April 19th of this year, 2009. The application also includes some standardized language with regards to fear of DEA prosecution, etc. It contains no information specific to the hardship that the applicant faces for this location. As such, we ask that you deny this hardship exemption application as well.
Thank you. And based on the application submitted and public testimony, and which includes District 14's recommendation, the applicant cites fear of federal prosecution, facilities state corporate status amongst the reasons, which do not demonstrate any hardship from the provisions of the ICO ordinance, including but not limited to reasons the applicant was unable to register with the city clerk pursuant to Section 3 of the ordinance. So I would move that we deny the hardship exemption.
And I'm sorry, I missed whether or not the representative from the council office gave a date of the application. So if I could ask for that before I second the item.
Do we have a date on the application for this item?
Yes, April 19th of this year.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll second that item.
Okay. Now with action of this committee. Next item, Roberto.
Council member would be item 13. Again, there's a withdrawal letter filed with the city clerk's office.
Withdrawal letter. Let's see who we have in the cards here. Mr. Duff, he waives his right to speak. Ms. Devine.
Tara Devine, Council District 14. We have reviewed this application as well. We do not believe that the applicant has articulated any reason specific to their situation, this location, or their collective, and with regards to the hardship. We believe that, or I would articulate that our position is the same as the prior case, given that the withdrawal was received after the item was agendized for Plum Committee. We don't believe that we would prefer not to do receive and file, but if that's the action of the committee, we will defer to the committee. We would prefer that you deny the hardship exemption application.
Okay, and the date of the application?
June 15th of this year.
Okay. Well, I will move to deny the hardship, just given the preference of the council office, given the research, and again, Ms. Devine, in this case, can you speak to the impact or how you see this facility interfacing with with the area in terms of your research?
This particular location is located within the Colorado, I'm sorry, this location is on Figueroa Street. It is actually on a parcel that's designated as residential use, which we believe sort of precludes its appropriateness. I don't think under any contemplated ordinance allowing these facilities, we've contemplated allowing them in residential zones. For that fact alone, we would not support this location. It's zoned low-medium residential and is in the heart of a single-family home, primarily neighborhood. And quite frankly, I question the reason for the withdrawal once the item has been scheduled for this committee. So.
Okay, and in the application, what reason did they give for the hardship?
The reason stated for the hardship is, once again, your standard cut and paste from the internet language that articulates fear of DEA prosecution, etc. There are no specific details relating to their specific hardship at this location or their particular collective.
Okay.
So we believe that they have not met their burden to prove their hardship.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On this, I would recommend to deny their application.
Do you want to be consistent with item 11, Councilman, that was also withdrawn, and I believe the committee received and filed it?
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. As I originally said, you could have done it either way, but since you treated, I saw a difference between items under 21 and these others, but since you already did item 11 as receive and file, I probably would just be consistent and do it the same way.
And I will follow your advice on that.
Okay.
Okay. Subject to action of this committee, will receive and file. Next item, Roberto?
The next item, council members, is an application filed by Mubar Mendesian. It's a hardship exemption from the medical marijuana ICO for PPP Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Figueroa Organic Healing Center, located at 5501 North Figueroa Street on CD1.
Okay. It's item 14. We have the applicant on this one, please. David Weld, I believe.
Yes. Good afternoon, council members, city attorney. Shall I begin? Thank you. I represent Figueroa Organic Healing Center, which is a state-recognized collective. They were organized within the state of California to provide medical marijuana to members that qualify. They operate a private and exclusive location where the members congregate at the location at issue 5501 North Figueroa. We take issue first, and as we know, and I appreciate the council members bringing to light, as many cities have not, and I especially appreciate Councilmember Corritt's statements earlier today dealing with an earlier item, which gives us some hope that there might be some definition for hardship. What we found is that hardship is vaguely defined. In this situation, our members were not provided notice. That is what we believe to be the hardship in this situation, as that it was necessary to file with the city. In addition to that, it's a hardship to preclude an organization from effectively exercising their civil rights under the law. It is found, as I told you earlier, in July 1st, under the case of County of Butte versus Superior Court of Butte County, that the right of a collective is actually a civil right, which requires some due process. We take issue with the due process provided us today, as there is no clear definition as to what a hardship is. The definition of dispensary under 12.03 is overbroad under the Los Angeles Municipal Code. In addition to that, my client will suffer and has suffered financial hardship, the collective itself, by investing in creating a location where the members may congregate, as I stated before, a private and exclusive location, not open to the public. On that, I ask that the City Council, the two members of the Plum Committee present today, find that a hardship does exist, that the civil rights of my client will be violated under the new case, County of Butte versus Superior Court of Butte County, and that these in itself is a hardship on my client. Thank you very much.
So, but as an attorney, you know that filing for this application does not give the operator the right to operate, correct?
Your Honor, council member, the council member should be aware that I was retained recently by this member or by my client. I did not file the application. I am aware that under the law, filing a hardship application does not allow you to operate a dispensary. However, we take issue with the definition of dispensary, which has been defined as a commercial location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Reverend Duff?
Good morning, Council. Again, the 14th Amendment argued, obviously, but I would like to argue another thing. The city has been collecting, and the state has been collecting taxes on all of these dispensaries that open post-ICO also. So, that being said, if the city is collecting taxes, and the state is collecting taxes on post-ICO clubs that you're saying are illegal, then the tax money should be returned to these clubs since, quote-unquote, they're illegal, or the city and state should be charged with conspiracy because you allowed them to open and operate illegally, but you accepted their tax money. That's conversion.
Okay. One of the cards on this item, this is in my district, and Councilor Perez, I can show you that this facility, factors that we're having, is one that is currently operating, but it's operating also 864 feet from an elementary school at 5423 Monte Vista. It's operating 873 feet from the Richard Reverend Primary Center in Monte Vista, approximately 195 feet from Academia Avanza Charter School, 3 doors from the Highland Park Fitness Youth Gym at 5509 North Figueroa. It filed approximately 1 year and 8.5 months after the effectiveness of the ICO, and it is currently in operation per the Department of Building and Safety. And documents submitted and its reasoning is essentially verbiage that has been essentially pulled from a cookie cutter language we've been seeing over and over again in all the applications. I would move to deny the hardship exemption on this one.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Attorney?
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. I was just handed a letter by the clerk on item 13 that was treated as a withdrawal, and it doesn't look to me like it's a withdrawal. It's a request to relocate, but I'm not really reading it as a withdrawal. So my suggestion, it's technical, but is to move to reconsider item 13 and then take the action as a denial if that's your discretion.
So, for the record, we'll pause on item 14.
You just did your action on 14.
14. So
the request to relocate, are they asking to relocate the hearing or their dispensary? Or
no. It looks like to an underserved region of the great city of Los Angeles. But as I read this letter, it just says he won't be able to attend. I don't read it as a withdrawal.
Okay. So
you have to move to reconsider and then to take another action.
To be absolutely clear, we already acted on item 14. It's been seconded by Councilman Perez to deny the hardship on item 14, so that's complete.
Right.
Now we'll move to reconsider item 13.
Right.
Second.
That's second. So on item 13, the record shows a letter that does not constitute a withdrawal.
That's how I read this. It's dated August 6th, and it says, to whom it may concern, I was only made aware of this hearing on the 5th of August and regretfully will not be able to attend. In accordance with the desires of this honorable board, there will be no sales, cultivation, or dispensation of medical cannabis from this location whatsoever, effective immediately. Consider this location closed immediately. I understand the board's feelings and concerns with regards to the feeling that there are others in close proximity, and to that end request that I be allowed to relocate to an underserved region of the great city of Los Angeles. But to me, when I read this, it doesn't read as a withdrawal. So it's just technical because, as I stated before, the legal significance is no different, but I would just act on it.
Okay. So based on the recommendation from the council office on this item, they, for the record, had demonstrated and shown that they would advocate for a denial of the hardship exemption given the information presented to us in the file. And reviewing the file, I would agree to support that recommendation in denying the hardship exemption.
I'll second that.
So that'll be the action that's coming on item 13. This takes us to item 15.
Item 15, Councilman, you indicated previously that you were denying it.
That was item 14.
No, also 15, I believe. 15? When you went through a list earlier.
Yes, because there was no cards on.
Yeah, 15 also.
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
So it takes us to which item?
That would be item 16, council members. It's an application filed by Jorge Arjon, and it's a medical marijuana ICO exemption request for Discount Relief Collective located at 6309 Van Ness Boulevard, number 110 in CD6.
Okay, Mr. Jorge Arjon, are you here?
Yeah, guys, I would like to get an extension. Just because I'm not understanding all this, I got to talk to the lawyer and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, so we're here now. I think we're going to keep moving forward. So we're going to deny your request for an extension.
That's fine. At this point.
Can you give us did you want to make a statement?
No.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We have Beth Stone, Jeanette Parra. Jeanette Parra, would you like to speak?
Hi.
Hi.
What this place, Discount Relief Collective, has given me is a job. I'm a single female, I'm young, I'm going to school, and if there's not that many options. I don't know if anybody in this room has applied for a job recently. I was only able to get one job for 1 day a week for 3 hours. I can't live alone. Do you know what the cost of living is out here? There's not that many options for a girl who's going to school to support herself without taking her clothes off, really. I mean, that's the truth. So if this place gets shut down, there's not really too many options without getting state support. And I really would like to, work and go to school. So
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Eric Sanchez.
Hello.
Good day, sir.
I would just like you guys to just reconsider the denial for the simple fact that there are many bad apples in medical marijuana in the industry of it, and we are not one of those bad apples. We are diligently, every day we try to weed out the bad apple patients that come in. Add a problem of sometimes we get threatened by their affiliations. However, we still look at them and deny them as you guys looking at me and denying me. And I'm just trying to work as an American citizen, trying to be a citizen, and I would like to just say that one of the proudest days of my life was to work there because of the fact that before that I was unemployed for a year, receiving aid from your great state of California, and I am one of those people that look at that wish to not receive aid and continue to work. Thank you. I hope I work tomorrow like you are working now.
Thank you, sir. David Azama.
Thank you, council members. I feel this is a really sad day for LA. I've been hearing a lot of comments basically maligning a plant that has been on earth for millions of years, that is being called a danger to children, that can't be near schools, even though in the Bible clearly marijuana is mentioned many times. It was used as a sacrament in the early church. There really is a discordance between the perception of what the will of the people. The majority of Americans no longer believe marijuana is an evil drug that has to be kept away from children, that has to be kept away from the churches, that from every good paragon of society. Americans have gotten past that, and it really is time for our elected officials to come online with the rest of America. Please do so.
Thank you very much. Reverend Duff?
Okay, for this one I actually can speak very personally because I know the owners very well. The owners had a pre-ICO co-op, HC Remedies. It was on Ventura Boulevard. So I'm sure it's one of the 187. That location, the landlord would not release to them. So they had to move. They moved to another location in Woodland Hills. In that location, they were raided by the DEA. The DEA came in, stole all their property, went to their house, stole all their property, and didn't arrest one person. The hardship exemption, if I remember, and I was here at all the meetings years ago when we were talking about this, was created for that fact. The hardship of the DEA coming in and forcing you to move, forcing them to lose all their livelihood, and then try to get it back. And that's what Discount Relief Collective is. It's their second store, third store from the first one. And as you see, the pre-ICOs, there's only like 20 left that are in the original location. So just asking you to understand that they are a pre-ICO club.
Thank you, sir. We do have a letter from Councilmember Cardenaz's office on this. I don't have a card. I'd like to come on up, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember. Daniel Skolnick, Planning Deputy for Councilmember Tony Cardenas of the 6th District. The Councilmember is requesting the hardship application be denied based on the fact that the applicant applied on 3/8/09, and we have an incomplete application. Thank you.
Okay. Were there any problems with the location? Has your office had any difficulties
outside
with it?
of the fact that it is not in compliance with the ICO? Yes, we do have problems at this location. We happen to see young people apparently intoxicated congregating around the area.
Just for the record, we do have the application stamped March 9th of 09, so you made reference to March 8th. I'll just, for the record, correct that. And then the letter from Councilman Cardenas does state March 9th. So, again, I just want to be consistent with the record.
Excuse me, Councilman, I'm sorry. I stated the date signed by the applicant on the exception.
Okay, so I'm just, again, want to be consistent with our facts.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman, any thoughts?
I don't know. It sounds like at least this may meet the original intention of our hardship exemption. The question is whether it legally meets all the pieces of that, especially with the late filing of the exemption itself. I wonder if the city attorney could speak to that.
Again, Terry Kaufman, City Attorney's Office. Again, the mere filing of an application doesn't grant anybody the right to operate, and what I understand, they're operating. So that's the first thing. And I didn't hear testimony explaining why they could not file within the time frame of the ICO. I heard that they were operating before and they had a problem with their lease. the reasons stated in the application or lack of awareness, I guess, of the laws. I don't know if you feel that meets the definition of hardship. So,
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that piece of it does as people have said for hundreds of years, ignorance of the law isn't an excuse, so that doesn't
Right.
doesn't help
Right.
help us.
But, you know, I mean, you have to listen to the facts and determine if there's an explanation that you feel is reasonable as to why they couldn't file on time and file within the terms of the ICO. And if you feel that you heard that, then you can have the discretion to grant the exemption. If you feel you didn't hear that, then you have the authority to deny.
And do we know why the applicant wasn't here to make their presentation?
Well, the applicant is here, but requested a...
He declined to make a statement.
Okay, we have the applicant here.
He's right there.
That's to make a statement, sir, still? I know you asked for continuance, we didn't grant it to you, so do you want to make a statement?
Okay. I got raided by the DA, so that's why we moved.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did you file your forms at such a late date rather than at?
So I didn't know about. I mean, you guys don't tell us nothing. We're like, it's still new. You know, I got the permits all there. Everything's from the city, Board of Equalization, everything. It's just. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And in the later this date in his application, he just became aware of the need to register with the city, and I don't think that's sufficient for reasoning for qualifying for hardship exemption. I would move to deny the hardship at this time.
I think I will have to reluctantly second that.
Okay. So you would be, can you repeat that one more time? I don't hear you.
I will second that motion.
Okay. All right. Sympathy Actions Committee. Roberto?
The next item, council members, it's item 17, an application filed by Sadak Marshall, and Truman Anderson Weatherly is a representative. It's a ICO exemption request for the dispensary located at 7135 North Keister Avenue in CD6.
Okay. Do we have the applicant here? Good day, sir.
Can I request to go last? When everybody else has to say first.
I'm sorry?
Can I request to go last?
Are you the applicant?
Yes. Do I have to go first?
Well, there's only two cards. It's yourself
Oh, okay.
and
So-
Paul Shively.
Okay.
And then Mr. Duff.
Okay. I believe I should be granted a hardship because my situation is far unique from everyone else's. Zodak Eugene Marshall opened Kush Corner in 2005. And in January 1st, 2007, he started a one-year lease on Parthenia Street. I have all the information right here to prove everything. On August 7th, he got a letter from the DA stating he had to move immediately or they will arrest him, the landlord, everybody. He then seized his business and closed it down in the beginning of September of 07. Did not open until August of 08. That's when he met me. During that time, that was when you're supposed to register your pre-ICO. So he didn't have the opportunity to do so. And then finally, when he did meet me in August of 08, I knew a landlord who was willing to let us open a new business, operate, comply, etc. I signed a manager contract with Zodak, paid him $35,000 to be the manager. Eventually, we opened our doors 11/1/08. And then when preparing to open, we received a letter saying we need to file a hardship. So we did so. On April 1st, 2009, I eventually took over the business for him for a very small fee. We incorporated to meet the city guidelines. In closing, I should be granted a hardship because I have not made all my money back yet. I've signed a 3-year lease contract, so I'm still fighting back to meet my financial debt that I've encountered. And like I said, the business has been open since '05, so technically it is a pre-ICO as opposed to all the other businesses that have been opened afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, and just for the sake of clarity, your name is Aaron
Oganian.
Oganian, but the application was filed by Zadok Marshall?
Because when we first opened the business, when we reopened, he was still in charge. Like I said, I have contracts saying that I was the manager, and eventually I was going to be the potential owner of the business. So I was a manager. I was operating the whole business on my own. He was paying me basically little to nothing. And I paid him $35 to be a potential owner in the future. And as of April 1st, 2009, I ended up being the owner. We changed the seller's permits name to my name, etc.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But the business has been open since '05.
All right. Paul Scheibly?
Good afternoon once again. Just for a matter of record, when this client, Mr. Marshall, came to us and stated that he had this quote-unquote pre-ICO location or enterprise, we contacted Building and Safety and City Clerk's office to find out what we needed to do to bring it into compliance. They told us to supply the documents, the lease agreement, SBOE, insurance, so forth and so forth. We did that. And just for a matter of record, we did comply with what was requested of us. The enterprise had actually started in January of '05 with some lapses in business here and there. But we're in hopes that the committee will view it as a pre-ICO and give them the go-ahead to continue to operate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Duff? Reverend Duff, I'm sorry.
Well, again, it seems that we have a situation that the hardship was made for as a pre-ICO collective. And the thing I'm kind of seeing here is that the hoops are getting smaller. First, the hardship was made so someone got a DEA landlord letter and they had to move, that they could continue to operate as they had to, as he has to, because if patients, they don't understand if you just close your door. Now, this is a situation of informed consent. Informed consent means you should be informed of what's going to happen if you do something. Now, when people went down and applied for his business license, he got his business license, everybody else got their business license, even post-ICO, there was no informed consent that they had to stay closed until they were given the okay. And so all this is really ex post facto because there's no informed consent.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Can I say one thing real quick? Do you guys need paperwork?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, yes, we have the council office. Did you want to ask something, sir?
I have a question for Building and Safety, if
okay.
the representative's still here.
Yes, sir.
So Building and Safety will certify compliance of a medical marijuana dispensary even if it hasn't been given the full okay and gotten on the list of the 186 currently approved dispensaries.
Yeah, we've acted on complaints that we've received since the list was created, the 186. If they were not on it, and we got a complaint about it, we issued an order to them, ordering them to discontinue operating because they were not registered as required in the ICO. We issued an order actually on this one in October of 2008. And then, I don't know what the date of the hardship is on this one, but until the hardship hearing, the hearing is held on the hardships, the orders are held in abeyance until a decision is made on them.
So you wouldn't have determined that they were compliant. You would just be holding the order to remedy the situation in abeyance until then.
We would not tell anyone they are in compliance because they're actually not in compliance or are not operating legally.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I think that's a key phrase, that they are not in compliance because they're operating illegally. Okay. All right. The council office?
Thank you, council members. Daniel Skolnick, District 6. Based on the date which the applicant filed for the exemption, it is outside the time period. Moreover, they did not provide a satisfactory reason for an exemption, and the council office is requesting denial.
Okay. I don't see any other speaker cards in this item. We've heard from the council office. And based on the council office recommendation, testimony, again, the applicant cites landlord-tenant matters amongst the reasons which do not demonstrate any hardships and provisions of the IC ordinance, including non-limited reasons the applicant is unable to register with the city clerk pursuant to Section 3 of the ordinance. Therefore, we move to deny the hardship.
Second.
That'll be the action of this committee. Next item, Bertha.
Next item, council members, is item 18, and you previously moved to deny.
Cards on that one. Was standing, since 10 a.m. this morning, holding on to my card and
Which item is that, ma'am?
Number
18. 18? Come on up. Can you give your card to the clerk, please?
Certainly.
And can I have the cards? I know I can. Can you give us your name and address for the record? And you are the applicant?
No, sir. I represent the founders of the collective.
I'm sorry?
I represent the founders of the collective.
You represent the founders of the collective. Now, just come on for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. You did take an action on item 18. You denied it on consent, so just to keep it correct, you got to move to reconsider if that's, you know, how you want to handle it, and then you can reopen and take the testimony.
I'd like to move to reconsider. She has been waiting all day.
Second.
She's been here since early in the morning and been very patient, so I will move to open. It's been seconded by Councilman Koretz. So we will go ahead and hear from the applicant.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I speak on behalf of Progressive Options. 1 year ago, the founders of this collective were worried about their grandmother. She was suffering from an overall malaise. Upon a friend's recommendation, they gave her an edible, and for the first time in many months, she had a restful sleep and renewed vigor. This inspired them to open a dispensary where they could help other ill people cope. After undergoing a background check, etc., they were about to receive their license from Santa Barbara when their landlord changed their mind. They were determined to proceed and found an open-minded landlord in Van Nuys. They complied with all the regulations, permits, insurance, and more. In filing for a hardship exemption, they did not blame the federal government for sowing fear. They cited 3 good reasons: a sizable monetary investment, a commitment to a lease, and a commitment to their members, now over 1,000. Progressive Options is one of the most well-regarded collectives in LA. Testimonials abound online. They are the first to actually specialize in distributing high-grade genetic strains. They understand that because of recent rejections, they may be unable to continue their chosen mission. Thus, they have decided to concentrate solely on providing clones. No dried buds, no edibles, no consumable marijuana. They will become the first clone-only collective in LA to enable members to grow their own cannabis. A clone is a cutting taken from another. It is not medical marijuana at this point because it can't be smoked, vaporized, drunk, or eaten, which means that Progressive Options will strictly not even be a dispensary. Progressive Options believes that you will allow them to remain open if you want to assist patients grow with what is best suited to their needs. This is what you call unparalleled compassion to the community.
Yes, ma'am. Let me ask you one question. So you are currently in operation?
Yes, sir, we are.
But you are aware that filing for this application does not give the permit to operate?
Yes, sir, we are quite aware of that, and that is why we are going to shift to being a clone-only collective.
Okay. Thank you. There are no other speaker cards on this item. Is the council office here on this item?
Sorry, Councilmember.
Okay, we do have a letter from Councilman Cardenas. Do you have any comments to make on behalf of the council member?
No further comments.
Okay. Okay, based on this letter, the councilmember Cardenas states in their conclusion, based on the application submitted, the applicant has not demonstrated any hardship from the provisions of the ordinance number 179027, including but not limited to the reasons the applicant is unable to register with the city clerk pursuant to section 3 of the ordinance. Therefore, the hardship exemption application should be denied. And that will be the councilman's recommendation of the district. Doesn't say. Right. Right. Any thoughts, Councilmember?
I don't see, unfortunately, any compelling reason, although they filed a little bit earlier, but still after the time period, no reason why they couldn't have filed in a timely fashion.
Okay, Councilmember. So we would move to deny the hardship?
I'll move that.
That'll be action of this committee. Thank you. That takes care of item 18. Next item.
Council members, it would be item 19. It's an application filed by Harutian Kasabian, medical marijuana ICO for SFVB as in Bob AA, located at 6315 Van Nuys Boulevard, number B3 and CD6.
Okay, we do have a card from Harutin S. Kasabian. Good day, sir.
Good afternoon, Councilman Reyes, and good afternoon, Councilman Koretz. I'd like to give my time to Mr. David Welch, my attorney, who I'd like for him to clarify my exact filing.
Okay, we'll have your representative speak for you.
But if I could have a moment after him, then that would be all right.
Well,
I'll give my time to him.
And I'll keep it short so that way he does have some time to speak. I speak on behalf of my client. And again, I bring up another issue with definition. And to be short, you understand, of course, I'm just laying the ground for the reasons to appeal the decision if it does go that way. First, the definition is overbroad. It's also vague. No notice was provided to my client, as is required for any kind of action that would relieve him of a right. In addition to that, we find that the definitions are inconsistent with the use. Let me talk about the use. Mr. Sabian's wife is a registered nurse. She also works with many doctors who, as we know, the law with medical marijuana, have taken the brave step in actually prescribing and issuing medical marijuana to cancer patients, persons that undergo chemotherapy. Marijuana helps these persons help these persons who are sick continue to gain weight, and they actually survive longer. The reason this hardship was filed is that this location in question was used, again, as an office location for hospice home care. The name of the organization is called AAA Home Care. It's a formation of doctors and patients. All members have joined together collectively to provide one another medical marijuana. We ask, knowing the issues I brought up earlier, and also knowing that the definition of hardship is discretionary and it's also not defined in the law, that you find that there is a hardship when the city interacts and says that doctors and nurses can't act in such a way to prescribe what they feel is right for their patients. We find that that is a hardship under the law. As we know, it is a hardship to basically stand in the place of how a doctor practices medicine. And on that, we rest. Thank you.
Excuse me, Terry
Yes.
Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. I'm just looking at the agenda, and I think there's a problem with the address on here. I looked at item 19 and 20 are both listed as 6315 Van Nuys Boulevard, but just quickly reviewing the application, it's 6375. So, can the gentleman clarify what the address of this property is?
It's my understanding that the address is correct on item 19.
That it's 6315?
Van Nuys Boulevard, number B. That is my understanding, yes.
This one is denoted as B3, and then this one they didn't put a B.
Yeah.
A subpart.
Okay, I'm
Think
just
about
saying
it.
it
Yeah,
says-
6315. Very supposed to. Unless that you read that as a letter. See, he says it's 63715.
Hold on, just checking in case we have a Brown Act issue, so just give me a minute, please.
Yeah, 631.
I know, and so then where he wants to locate is 6315. Okay. Okay, never mind. 6315.
And I believe I might have 9 seconds left. I do want to make one point when Councilmember returns. Councilmember, I do have 9 seconds left, so I'd like to make one more point on this matter. So the council, the Plum,
Can you speak in the microphone, please?
so the Plum Committee is aware this location is not currently being used as "quote unquote" a dispensary. Wanted to add that into the other definition or statement.
Okay. Madam Attorney, where did we conclude?
It just, I guess it wasn't written clearly on the application because it looked like it was 6375, but we checked other documents and it's 6315, so the agenda's correct.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Kasabian, did you still want to make a statement? And did you did you fill out, I don't have a speaker card for you.
No, I will write down.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time and consideration with this issue. My wife is a registered nurse, and her and her partner own AAA Home Health Care, and it's basically taking care of those infirm and who cannot help themselves, who are in a hospice care. Many oncologists refer their patients to my wife and her partner to AAA Home Health Care. Primarily, I see a need for medical marijuana as a dispensary for these patients. Primarily because it gives these people that are suffering this problem, gives them the nutrition they need, and it helps them in the long run. Because it opens up their appetite, and I've watched this happen. Furthermore,
Please finish.
This ICO, I obtained the nonprofit organization filing March of 07. I didn't follow through with submitting the rest of the paperwork, and that was primarily because I have many licenses, I'm a bail bond agent, and I'm currently taking the bar exam this February. And I was very concerned about the DEA rating or even the legalities. It was so vague. And I got to tell you, I did a lot of research, and I could come up with nothing. I decided not to open a place and therefore follow the guidelines that were specified per the ICO, saying don't open, don't move, and this is a very location-sensitive issue. It's as though I can't move, but I have a rental agreement, and I also have all the paperwork filed as of the last several weeks. I really believe that this would be a good thing.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to run it as a professional organization versus, I've seen very
Thank you, Mr.
questionable
Councilman.
practices.
And I'm hoping that we'll get an ordinance in place sooner than later so that you can do what you want, but right now we have to follow the law, we have to follow the process, so thank you for your statement.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Council Office?
Thank you, council members. Daniel Skolnick, CD6. The application was submitted on June 8th, 2009, and the reasons stated for the hardship exemption have to do with quoting that the federal government has used selective enforcement and fear and so forth, which is not related to a necessary reason for the ICO. The council office is asking for denial of this hardship exemption.
When did they file the application?
We have a stamp from the city clerk on June 8th, 2009, and we have the signature of the applicant on June 4th, 2009.
Thank you.
Okay. So based on the application and the information provided in the application and given the council member's recommendation, I would move to deny the hardship exemption.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, next item, Roberto.
The next item is the last item, Councilman. It's item 20. It's an application filed by Mohammed Kachmiraki, and it's an ICO from the medical marijuana ordinance, and it's for neighborhood caregivers located at 6315 Van Nuys Boulevard, same property address as item 19 in CD6.
Okay, we have a mayor. And help me with the last name, please.
Kajimaraki.
Good day, sir.
I'm talking on behalf of Mohammed Kajimaraki. I'm his brother. I'm a cancer patient. 2007 on October, I had diagnosed with colorectal cancer. I got 4 surgeries since then, and the last one was in December of 2008. We get this place on 6315 Van Nuys Boulevard. I believe we are the only one that have the lease start by September 1st of 2009. I'm fixing the place already, but not operating until getting the permission. And I hope that you guys can help me so I can help the others. Thank you.
Okay. So, yes, you are representing the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Muhammad is his brother.
Yes.
Yes, thank you,
He
sir.
was taking care of me during my illness. That's why we decided to open this business so I can
Right.
have my own income so he
Right.
didn't have to take care of me for the rest.
And I'm hoping the message can be heard that we are trying to be in a place where folks like yourselves who are suffering from different illnesses will have access to your medicine. We're not there yet. We hope to be there very soon. On the interim, we have to go through this process and assess each case individually based on the existing ordinance. So again, I thank you for your patience.
And if I could ask him a question. So you're not in operation, you've never been in operation up to this point?
No, but we having lease start by September 1st, 2009, and we already fix up the place, and everything is ready to go, but we are not operating yet.
So potentially, we could deny this hardship request, but when an ordinance is in place, which may not be that long thereafter, you may be able to apply under that to start business.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have the council office?
Thank you, council members. The council office is requesting denial of the exemption. The applicant applied according to the city clerk's stamp on June 8th, 2009, and the application is signed on 6/6/09 by the applicant. Furthermore, the reasons for requesting the hardship as stated by the applicant are long and lengthy, but in a nutshell, state hardship that the federal government has been prosecuting them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Based on the application information submitted and District 6 recommendation, I will move that we deny the hardship exemption at this time.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, that'll be the action of this committee. We do have one public comment card. I believe it's Bertha Ziegler, Adrian Frederick Ziegler. Are you here? Okay, seeing that they're not responding to that name for public comment, and seeing anyone else here for public comment, seeing no one else, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.